Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
Now Everton have got a chance to break, and here comes Romelu Lukaku. Oh, he's miscontrolled the ball just slightly. He isn't going to pick up the loose ball again. It's the 18-goal, left footed shot, scores! Can you believe it? Under pressure for so long, 42 and a half minutes played. Everton have got the length of the field. Wolfsburg had a corner, Everton have turned it around. A quick break after Schaefer's ball back into the penalty box, and Everton were on your bike. Morales played it through to Lukaku. He actually miscontrolled it on the edge of the centre circle, but was able to pick up the ball, drove in, left-sided, and a cultured left-footed finish past the goalkeeper Benaglio, and Everton have the lead. 43 minutes played. Wolfsburg 0, Everton 1. Lukaku has got to hold that ball up so that Everton can get out. He has done. He's done really well. Now can he play it through to Morales? Yes, he can. He's going to go in on goal. They'll get round Gustavo. Right foot, he gets the shot away. Everton have done it again. Carbon copy. Under pressure, they spring. Fabulous work by Lukaku. Picks out the pass, and Morales surely has this game and this group sewn up. 74 on the watch. Wolfsburg 0, Everton 2. Kevin Morales take a bow.
That was TalkSport's live commentary last night, of course, of the Europa League game between Wolfsburg and Everton.
What a
very
fantastic
impressive
result.
Very impressive performance, I'd have to say.
Well, Everton,
two good goals
this season. 1-3, drawn 2. Top of the group. Go into the draw on December the 15th, I think it is, the knockout
last
stage.
32.
That's 32. The road to Warsaw beckons and all that. But, I mean, look, you know, all jokes aside about being an Evertonian, that was an incredibly efficient and impressive display. Lukaku has been criticised for underperforming, you know, having got his transfer to Everton.
He is quite difficult to watch, though, isn't he? Because you do sometimes wonder what he's going to do with the ball. Is he going to fall over it? Is he going to, you know, make it
well,
stick to his foot?
I don't. I regard him as a boy genius, honestly. I regard him as one of the best in the world, potentially.
Really?
Yeah, and I think he'll flourish. He's still a very young man, and I do believe he'll flourish. But the thing is, Everton played and looked magnificent, I thought. They're playing the team that's second in the Bundesliga. That's not bad, is it?
It isn't bad. And I got a bone to pick with you, actually, because on Twitter people were giving me a hard time for saying,
you wrote them off.
Everton, you said Everton wouldn't get anything out of this game. I did not say that.
No, you did.
When did I say that?
You said that on Monday night when I was working with you.
Absolute rubbish.
No, you did, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm not having you, barefaced lies to the audience here. You said that Everton will get nothing out of it. You were dismissive. Now, it might not have been on air because, you didn't want to put yourself on the line.
Oh, so there's no actual record of it?
Well, there may be. I can't remember if it was on air or off air.
No, it wasn't on air.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I didn't say that.
You were dismissive. They'll get nothing out of it. You thought Everton were going to lose, and you said,
that's not what I said.
The other results better go for them, or else they won't get through and all this. You were totally dismissive. Now,
I think this is just another one of your kind of ruses to get people to dislike me.
Well, people dislike you anyway.
Lately.
People dislike you anyway.
You've been doing a lot of that lately.
No.
Like with the quiz last week, where you accused me of keeping the quiz out of the podcast deliberately
because
you'd done so well.
Well, how did the podcast get so badly messed up last week?
I can't tell you how it got badly messed up.
Well, you're in charge of putting the podcast together, and you failed completely.
I'm not. There were people beneath me in the food chain.
Yeah, there's the food. It's too hot, by the way. You can switch a fire.
Is it too hot? There's no fire on in here. What are you talking about? Yeah. If there was a fire in here, we'd all be leaving.
No, I meant the heater thing.
The heater thing. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to tell you that I want you to stop this campaign of trying to make people dislike me.
I don't have to make people dislike. You're naturally unlikable.
Unlikable.
You snatched a picture of me tonight when I was trying to soak my foot in water to get rid of my gout.
Yeah, the gout picture, yeah.
Yeah, what you didn't tell me...
I didn't snatch it at all, you're posing for it.
No, I wasn't.
Very clearly
What you didn't tell me was that my shirt was open and a bit of my stomach was protruding.
Really?
Now people say that I'm an extremely ugly, fat person.
Yeah.
And do I
have...
They're
not wrong about that, are they?
Do I have gout in my stomach as well as my foot?
I can't be responsible for the way that you sit in a chair.
Well, I don't know why my shirt was open. I think you arranged it or something. I think,
There is a problem with putting pictures on Twitter, though. People notice every tiny detail.
They certainly do. They've even taken the number off your credit card because you left the credit card on the table.
So far, nobody's
when you were
used it.
taking pictures of bottles of
champagne. Have you got rid of that picture yet, by the way?
No, I haven't got rid of it.
Well, I wish you would, because now somebody's going to go and look for it again.
I don't care. If it causes you problems,
this is not at all.
That's nothing to do with me.
Not at all in the spirit in which we should be entering, because we're going off together on Sunday to go and see Spurs.
I'm dragging you along to White Hart Lane, you mean?
Yes. Well, no, I was invited as well, I think.
No, I don't think you were.
Wasn't I?
No, I think it was Mr. Porky Parry +1.
Oh, right.
And I've decided
Well, in which case, I'm very honoured that you've
I've
decided
to take you along just to broaden your knowledge of the great game and Everton in particular. That will be fantastic now because, of course, Spurs won tonight as well. So they're through to the knockout stages as well. That's going to be a real old competition, but I feel very confident about Everton. Very, very confident indeed.
They did look good.
I love the way the boys did it
I wanted to
tonight.
pick you up on something else, actually, that you said on Monday night, because we talked about Ross Barkley. He came on, and did he score a goal that was disallowed, and then no, he didn't. No, he didn't actually get another goal after.
No. He celebrated it, and then it was just marginally offside.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Would have been his first European goal, and he had a good game. They all had a good game. They're brilliant. I thought Jagielka was outstanding in defence.
And there was an amazing miss, wasn't there, by Aidan McGeady? How did he do that?
I don't know, but do you know what? He blows hot and cold, Aidan McGeady. Do you remember his goal against Leicester in the opening game of the season? He curled the ball from outside the area right in under the bar, and was, what a genius. And then he gets dropped because he has a few lackadaisical performances. And then tonight, it was on any professional footballer should have controlled that ball and slotted it away. And at that point, we were 1-0 up, and you thought, oh, blimey, hope we haven't lost the advantage. Didn't matter in the end, but those things do count.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, the thing I wanted to pick you up on was Ross Barkley.
Pick you up on,
because you said that you were appalled by his dive at the weekend, and that Mr. Martinez would no doubt be having a word with him about it.
Yes.
But all the things I've seen from Roberto Martinez have not really criticised Barkley at all.
I want to apologise to Ross Barkley.
Do you?
And to Mr. Martinez.
Really?
I got the interpretation of it completely wrong. What actually happened is that he was so aware of what was going on around him, he anticipated he was about to be tripped, so he took to the ground to save himself from being injured.
Well, isn't that diving?
No, it's not. That is self-protection.
He took to the ground without being touched, is what you're saying?
He did take to the ground without being touched because he thought he saw an illegal challenge coming in which could have damaged him. I'm talking about damage, by the way. What is going on with poor old Jack Wilshere? Have you seen the statistic? Since he started his Arsenal career and made his debut in the first team, he's played 90 games, missed 127
really
through injury.
That's dreadful.
Now he's going to miss about another 15 or 16, 127 plus 15, 137, 142.
Yeah.
No joke, Mike, that is nearly 4 Premier League seasons of games.
It's an awful lot, isn't it?
That is an incredible statistic at his age.
And they've now confirmed that he's going to be out for 3 months. And knowing Arsenal, of course, it might end up being longer than 3 months.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? He's had 12 major injuries, 8 of them have been ankles. And I heard Jason talking in the show prior to us on the Sports Bar, saying he used to train with strapped-up ankles because he had what's known as glass ankles. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Well, people say that, but you never know if it actually exists as a kind of condition.
Well, I can understand. Do you know what I find amazing? As a bit of a student of physiology.
Are you?
I find it amazing that more footballers and even cricketers who, put so much weight on one particular part of their body, if they're a bowler or suffer the twists and turns of a batsman, I don't know how they go on so long. Excuse me. When you think of what a footballer has to go through, the turns,
all the
twists,
ex-footballers that work here,
the ligaments, the knees, the
they've all
joints.
got terrible knees and ankles and backs and all that, haven't they? Because they do put an awful lot of pressure on that part of the body, but also they play in absolute pain for a lot of the time. I mean, John Terry said that, didn't he, a few months ago?
Yeah, and
said that he basically played in
whole
pain
season.
all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Andy Townsend tells me, and Andy was captain of Villa and Middlesbrough and Ireland and Chelsea. He said most weeks footballers are carrying some sort of injury.
Yeah.
If they didn't play through pain and injury, they wouldn't play at all.
They never play at all, yeah.
Because that's the way that game is. So there we are.
I'll tell you another interesting thing that I discovered. I don't know how much you know about Wolfsburg.
You discovered something interesting?
I did. Well, I
this
noticed...
is a first. Somebody got a bell there to ring out.
No, there isn't a bell.
Oh, then she's going to tell me something interesting.
But we have got the siren alert ready for when you start giving away not only the plots of television shows, but also the Christmas presents you're going to buy, because we're going to get into that a little bit later. But you've revealed already on Twitter to thousands and thousands of people what you're going to buy for your sister, which some people have said is a bit cruel, really, because then she'll find out before she gets the present. But we'll get that siren ready later.
Don't worry, she won't be listening this time, and she doesn't know how to access the podcast, so that's okay.
Here's the thing that I found interesting about Wolfsburg. Did you notice that they were sponsored by Volkswagen?
Yes, well, it's called Volkswagen Arena.
Yeah,
that was a clue.
They're actually owned by Volkswagen, and the whole town was actually built originally in 1938 for the people who worked in the Volkswagen factory.
The people's car.
Yeah, who were building the Volkswagen Beetle.
That's right, yeah, I know. It's a fascinating history, isn't it?
An astonishing thing, yeah. So Volkswagen basically owned the whole town.
Did Hitler initiate the Volkswagen?
I think he did. I think it was one of his kind of ideas that they should have this car that everybody could have for the people.
Well, what I think it was to recover from, economic ruin, which basically created the atmosphere for National Socialism.
For him to be elected. Yeah.
Exactly. We all know where that all got us. He started a massive policy of state spending, and the thing that he thought would take up most of the jobs that were needed were building motorways, the autobahns, obviously. So he built these autobahns all over the place. Now, what the rest of the world didn't know at the time was that he was actually building these autobahns because he had plans to move huge numbers of military around. And
towards other countries, presumably, as well.
Well, this is what I'm saying, Mike. Just to give you a history lesson, when Hitler came to power, war was still being fought on horseback, literally, right? In the early 1930s, it was still being fought on horseback. He could see the mechanised war machine emerging, OK?
Well, the first mechanised war was the First World War, wasn't it?
Not really.
They had tanks in the First World War.
Yeah, they did have tanks, that's right, but tanks were only on battlefields, if you see what I mean. Right. The movement of cavalry and troops was still on horseback. Now, what Hitler decided was going to build these roads, and if you look at the autobahns, they all led to other places that he was going to invade, like Czechoslovakia, like Sudetenland, like Belgium and Holland and France.
Well, they would lead to other places because that's what they do.
Yeah, they do, yeah. But what I'm saying is, when he started this campaign of public expenditure, the rest of Europe looked on and thought, it was quite a good economic policy. What they didn't know was he was actually building it to move millions of troops, which he already planned the Second World War, right? So why am I telling you all this?
I don't know why you're getting to this after we were talking about the Everton-Wolfsburg game,
yeah, well, I'm trying to tell you.
Fortunately, we're about to run out of time.
Well, don't run out of time, because this is a fascinating story. So what I'm saying is, having built the autobahns, they didn't have any cars, so he then decided better build some cars to put on the autobahns, and that's where Volkswagen came from. Okay? And that's where this town came from. Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
That's where the stadium came from, the Volkswagen Stadium. So it was all down, really, to Adolf Hitler that team exists, believe it or not.
Well, I'm not sure you can make that link, but anyway.
No, you can.
Thank you.
I'm telling
for
you.
That lesson
you know
in
Hitler
history.
once went to Liverpool.
Look into the light for a second. Look at the time.
Did you know Hitler once went to Liverpool and watched Everton?
Did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That's not part of the quiz, which is coming up a little bit later on.
He did.
He is Mike Porky Parry. I'm Mike Graham with the two mics. More coming up. This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two mics. Mike Parry is here. I'm Mike Graham, of course. It is Black Friday. It was Thanksgiving, of course, yesterday in the United States of America. Did you do anything for that? Did you celebrate that, given the amount of time you lived there?
No, not really, to be honest. It's a very American thing, isn't it? And they're amazing, the Americans, aren't they? Because they take the Thursday off, they have Thanksgiving, they go back to work on Friday.
Well, yeah, not all of them do, though. I mean, like the stock market guys don't.
Well, in our day, they did. In our day, they did. When we were there in the 80s, early 90s, I remember how amazing I was, because in this country, everybody would have taken Friday off as well and had a long weekend.
Right.
Not in America. In America, you only get 2 weeks holiday, don't you?
I know.
Doesn't matter what job you do. You're a senior vice president of an advertising agency or something, you get 2 weeks a year.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even more now, though, it's becoming this massive holiday for shopping, basically, because it started over there, Black Friday, and it was, an excuse for all the retailers just to kind of get rid of all their old stock, apparently. That's how it started.
Yeah.
But now we've picked it up, and apparently I've had tweets coming in tonight saying that I've just driven past the Tesco's and there's loads of people queuing up outside it.
Well, what time's it open?
Well, I presume it's already open, and they're trying to get in because it's already full of people.
Tesco's?
I think so, because I think most of it was all starting around about midnight.
Tesco's sell mostly food.
Well, no, they don't. They sell all sorts of things. They sell TVs, they sell furniture, they sell plates.
I suppose they do, yeah, and the bigger ones.
Yeah, they do. And
there's a 24-hour one near me.
Is there?
Yeah, on the bypass, which goes past Sutton, I think, and it's a huge place, and they do sell tables and chairs and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's the sort of place they're going. Why do people? I mean, so these bargains are all to get rid of surplus stock before the Christmas stock.
Well, that's where it started. I think now it's just a lot of bargains. Like you buy TVs for 150 quid and, all that sort of stuff.
Really?
And you can buy...
Well, I need a couple of TVs.
You need more TVs?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Why?
I'm having more TVs fitted, to be honest. I want one in every room, because otherwise you lose touch with the programme you're watching. I like to be able to move around and see everything.
And just put the same one on in same programme on in every single room.
I mean, for years I was mocked for having a TV on a trolley, which I used to push into my bathroom.
Well, you can't put a TV on in the bathroom, can you?
You can, yeah.
You can put one. Is that safe?
It is safe, yeah. I've had it checked out. I didn't think you could put electrical stuff...
You wouldn't want it falling into the bath, really, would you?
Well, it wouldn't be over the bath, you see. That's the point. Right. It'd be on an arm, right, away from the bath, but the arm, when you pull it out, actually positions position yourself so you can look up at it from the bath. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Excellent. Who's going to do that for you, Mrs. Mop?
No. I have to get a professional guy in to do that.
Really?
What are those arms called? They're gyratory or something like that.
I don't think they're gyratory.
I think they are, yeah. I think they are.
That's the name for the big roundabouts that we have.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. But anyway...
Like the Hanger Lane gyratory.
No, you fool. A gyratory is something that spins within something else, you know what I mean? Don't remember those things as a kid? They were like spinning tops, but they were a white metal ball which spun within the framework of another silver frame. Yeah, I remember them, very well. And, excuse me. And so, but the thing is, I don't like going out and buying tellies because I don't know what sort of telly it is. I prefer to ring up somebody who runs a telly shop. And
who runs a telly shop in this day and age, though? Well,
people do, like Sony. Sony have got their own, shop.
Have they? Where's that, then?
I think it's in a shopping centre in Epsom somewhere. I don't know, you look it up in Yellow Pages.
Well, then you can only buy one of their TVs, though.
Yeah, well, they're good TVs, though, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So just ring them up. You know, if Samsung had a telly shop, I'd buy them from there or whatever. I don't know why I'm giving all these brand names away.
Yeah, I don't know why you are.
You know what I'm saying? You know, that's
well, maybe what you should do after the show's over is go down to one of these shops and see if they're selling stuff cheap.
That's a good idea. Maybe buy some on the way home. I'll have the advantage of being there by 6:30.
Yes.
Good idea.
By which time they'll probably all have been sold, mind you, because of the crazed nature of people going out to buy all this stuff. The thing that also a lot of people were pointing out was perhaps Black Friday has something to do with your colour-coded shopping day, and people might think it's a good excuse to go out and buy things that are the colour black.
Well, that's okay. There's loads of things black.
Yeah.
Like tellies.
Tellies can be black.
Tellies are... no,
Guinness can be black.
All tellies are black. All tellies are black.
Well, some are silver, aren't they?
No, that's old-fashioned. Now you don't get silver tellies anymore. No, all tellies are black, right? I can tell you that for a fact.
What do you mean, black-framed?
Yeah. Well, there's no frame on a telly. They're flat screen.
Yeah, they are, but they've still got a little thing around them.
Yeah, but the back of it's always black. It's not silver or anything like that.
Well, the back might be black, yeah, but the front could be silver.
Yeah, no, you don't get any silver tellies anymore.
I think mine's silver.
No, well, yours is a very old telly then, in that case.
Yeah, I mean, they're all black in here,
in my view.
They're all black,
they're all black,
in here, but the ones in here are actually not particularly modern.
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, these are not tellies. These are monitors, Mike, OK?
They're internal monitors, some of them.
Yeah, internal communication monitors, all right? That's what we have in studios. Poor old Pele seems to have been a bit ill, but he's getting better. I just thought I'd throw that in because it's important.
It is important.
Now, on the Black Friday thing, is this the day then, tell me, when people start their Christmas shopping?
Well, it might be. I actually bought some Christmas shopping the other day just because I happened to be in Canary Wharf. And
what'd you buy?
I bought some stuff from Jo Malone. I bought some stuff from Molton
What's Jo Malone?
What's Jo Malone?
Yeah.
It's a perfume company, basically, effectively. And
women... What are you buying perfume for?
All women love Jo Malone, no matter...
So you bought perfume for your daughter and the mother of your children, have you?
I have, and for my sister as well, actually.
And for your sister. See, giving it away.
Stop giving things away,
you've
please.
You've given it away.
Because you've asked me. Which you shouldn't have done.
Well, I told you about the fact that now I've been thinking long and hard about Christmas presents. I've decided to buy my sister a beehive.
Why are you going to do that?
Well, because...
Now she's going to know what you're going to get.
No, she doesn't listen.
She doesn't listen?
Not this time of night.
She doesn't even listen to the podcast?
Well, I don't think she knows how to activate the podcast unless my nephew's around there and then he knows how to do it.
Technophobia runs in the family.
It does, I'm afraid, yeah. I think it's a great idea, don't you? Because along with the beehive, you get...
It's very trendy, actually, beehives.
Well, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's lots of people in trendy parts of London who are putting beehives on the roof.
On the roof?
Yeah.
Right. Now, you get all the gear with it. You know, the big hat and the net.
Beekeeper's outfit.
The beekeeper's outfit, that's right, the net and all that kind of stuff. Mind you, she will hate it, I know for sure.
Well, you can't just give that to someone. I mean, you have to know that they want it, don't you?
Well, you can give it away to somebody else who doesn't want it. But anyway, the guy's delivering it on the back of a lorry, so that's how you do it.
So he's delivering the beehive with the bees in it, or do you get the bees separately?
No, you get the bees in it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure they are, yeah.
Well, they'll be pretty angry if they've been driven around in the back of a van for a few hours.
Well...
You know, they might just come out and decide to sting it.
No, it's on the back of an open lorry, I'm told.
Well, that's not going to help them, is it? They don't like being transported around, bees,
They don't know they're being transported around.
How do they not know?
Because they're in their hive.
So, they think the hive is absolutely stationary, even though it's moving?
I would imagine so, because the hive's not moving,
They're very intelligent creatures.
Yeah, I know, but the hive's
not moving.
What I mean is the hive is not moving from side to side. It's not like the hive's having an earthquake or anything.
Well, it will be if it's going along any road in this country.
No, if you're in a car, Mike, you are not physically moving your body.
You're saying if you're driving a car at 70 miles an hour, you're not moving.
You are moving, but you're not moving your body. What I'm saying is somebody in a car can transport themselves from the front passenger seat to the back seat at 70 miles an hour because the physics of a car is that the interior of the car is in fact stationary to the bodily forms inside that car.
So you're saying if you move backwards to the back seat while you're going forwards at 70 miles an hour, that technically you're moving at a smaller speed then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all, you fool. What I'm trying to say is, if you're in a cruise liner on a ship and all that, the floor below you is not physically moving.
The floor is moving.
No, it's not moving.
Well, of course it's moving.
Of course it's not moving, you fool.
It's moving towards your destination.
It's not moving in relation to the body mass of a human being standing on that floor.
You can be standing still on the floor, which is moving.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I've been trying to say.
But the floor's moving on the basis that it's part of the boat that's moving.
It's not moving. If the floor was
moving... If the floor wasn't moving, it would actually fall off the back of the ship, wouldn't it?
If the floor was moving from, left to right or back to front, you'd fall over with the vibration of it. The floor is not actually moving in relation to the body mass of a human being.
You're starting to make my head hurt.
No. It's quite simple. You should be able to pick that up. It's not a problem.
No, I think your premise is completely wrong.
It's
but anyway,
not wrong.
Never mind that. The bees are going to know that they're being moved, and so they're not going to be too happy about it.
They won't know at all.
So when is this thing being delivered then?
I think it's about the 16th of December or
really?
something like that.
So before Christmas anyway?
Before Christmas, but we hide it in the garden.
Oh, so she doesn't know it's...
No.
She's not expecting it to be delivered?
No, she's going to find it on Christmas Day.
You're going to hide a beehive in the garden?
Yeah.
How are you going to stop the bees from coming out?
Well, we'll have some beekeeper fella who'll come round and make sure it's
seal it
okay.
up or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, something like that.
But the point about having bees is that it's good for the ecological kind of part of the...
Well, this is one of the reasons I've got it for us. Right. We've got a very big garden.
Isn't she going to notice there's a lot of bees around?
No, not at all. Not at all. Why would you notice a lot of bees around?
Because they're all going to, fly around. You're going to find out that there's more bees in the garden than there used to be because you've got a hive there.
No, we're not going to let them out until Christmas Day.
You can't not let them out.
Yeah, you can. You can put the lid on.
You're going to imprison the bees.
Well, sort of. But
what do you think's going to happen when you take the lid off?
Well, they'll fly out, I suppose.
Yeah, sting somebody.
No, they won't sting anyone. There'll be nobody there except my sister in her beekeeper's outfit. What are you laughing at?
Because I think it's a very, very bad idea.
It's not.
It's a very bad idea.
And then the bees, as you quite rightly say, come out and pollinate all the flowers.
Yeah, well, after they've stung people to death because they're going to be very, very angry.
Bees are quite friendly.
Yeah, but not if you've caged them for about a month.
Well, I think it comes with a beekeeper type manual. So I think,
good.
I think my brother-in-law will have to go out every other day and lift off the lid or something. You know what I mean? Just to keep them happy.
Where are you getting these bees from, anyway?
Well, I don't know.
A bee shop.
Well, yeah. So well, it's the person who's selling me the hive. selling the bees as well.
Just said.
Sorry?
You get them at B&Q.
B&Q, I like that.
Or
That's
BP,
brilliant.
perhaps.
I like that. That's brilliant.
I thought bees all
BP.
died in the autumn anyway.
Well, it's not autumn, it's winter.
Well, they don't live in the winter, do they?
Well, they can. Well, they do. I mean, look, people who have beehives don't just see all their bees die at one time of the year, do they?
I think they do.
No, they don't. No, definitely not. No, there'll be bees in it, definitely.
We might have to find
What's
a bee.
What's the point of buying a beehive if you haven't got any bees in it?
Well, that's a very good point.
It's like buying a box of Smarties and no Smarties in it.
Yeah, what's the point of putting bees in a hive if you're not going to let them out?
Well, you will let them out eventually, but I mean, the point is, they don't go out every day, 24 hours a day, do they?
They do. They're working all the time.
No, they don't. Rubbish. That's nonsense.
I think you need to learn more about bees before you enter this particular
I've got experts to
problem.
look after it for me. Don't you worry.
Incredible stuff. He is Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. All coming up next.
Saturday afternoon, kick-off, 5:30.
And it's clipped in, and Sunderland have the equaliser.
And Chelsea are in front. Super finish from Diego Costa.
Sunderland
I think we are back to normal. We play Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool next. So in 2 weeks' time, I'll let you know.
versus Chelsea.
We are a good team. Obviously, we can lose, but the reality is that the team is playing really well.
And this, a real turn-up.
Live and exclusive. Sunday afternoon, kick-off, 1:30.
And Nathaniel Klein rifled it into the roof of the net. And Southampton have equalised in towards the near post. Oh, it's easily tucked home by Sergio Aguero.
Southampton
After 37 games, I don't believe that we will still the second on the table, but maybe the third.
versus Manchester City.
We have to play now 21 points, 7 games in December. I think it's very important for us to try to win as many points as we can.
Game on!
Smashes it home with a venomous finish.
TalkSport's live commentaries coming up this weekend, of course. Mr. Parry and I will be at the 4 o'clock kick-off at Spurs, White Hart
We
Lane.
certainly will.
And you said to me, I think on Monday, we're supposed to meet up. Is it 12 o'clock we're meeting up?
Well,
Or is it earlier than that? That's what I'm confused about.
No. Kick-off's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I suggested we meet at Liverpool Street Station at midday.
That's right. That's what I thought you said.
You wanted to meet at 9 in the morning.
Well, that was when I thought it was an early kick-off.
No. You wanted to meet at 9 in the morning to go on the lash all day
No,
before we
not
arrive
true.
at White Hart Lane. You were talking about breakfast with beer and all that sort of stuff, OK?
When I thought it was an early kick-off. But
No,
but
you
because
didn't. I told you it's 4 o'clock.
So we're going to meet at 12 anyway. That's
Going to
the
meet
plan.
at 12, going to have a
Okay.
couple of sherbets.
Any
And,
idea what the weather forecast is? Is it
no.
going to be a raincoat day? Is it
No.
going to be,
But don't worry, Mike, because we're inside.
Yeah, we are inside,
Yes.
but we will be walking outside in order to get to the ground.
Well, we will be able to get a taxi to Liverpool Street Station.
Yeah.
And then trains are covered. They have a roof on them.
They do normally.
Yeah,
And you'll be sitting in first class again, no doubt.
Well, yes, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. And then there's a bit of a walk at the White Hart Lane end because we go
That's
to the
what I
overground.
mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So if it's raining, you want to be covered, don't you?
I'll find a bloke with an umbrella.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe Tim Sherwood will be there.
Yes.
Or Steve, perhaps, because that was, of course, the moment when you called
This
him
time
Steve
last
Sherwood,
year,
wasn't it?
I didn't call him Steve Sherwood.
You did, as he was driving out in his
utter
car.
nonsense. There's absolutely no evidence for this scurrilous claim that
Well,
you
there
laid
is
on me.
evidence, because I heard you doing it.
He stopped because he knew me, and he said, "Hi, Mike," and
Yeah.
I said, "Hi,
And
Tim."
you said, "Hi, Steve."
No, and then you accused me of saying Steve. You put that rumour around, and everybody thinks I'm a complete blithering idiot because I got...
Well, they don't think it just because of that,
I
to be
got
honest.
his Christian name wrong, which is utter nonsense.
You confused him with another Sherwood, didn't you?
I didn't confuse him with anybody.
Because you said that later. That it was
Steve Sherwood was the goalkeeper
Yeah.
for Watford in the 1984 Cup final when Andy Gray challenged him in the air and scored Everton's first goal. But that's irrelevant.
Is it?
It's utterly irrelevant. But anyway, look, we're going to have a great day. I've had a few comments from people who have pointed out that a few years ago when I went to Spurs, I did have a very...
a moment of madness, would you call that?
No, a very good-natured play.
Inter-fan rivalry thing.
No, yeah, with some of the Spurs fans, and that was at the end of the ground called the Shelf.
Yes.
And that's where the seats are in the front of the box in the open, you see what I mean?
Right.
Now, we're going
Fortunately, this time we'll be behind the glass.
Yeah, we're going to join our friend John Sims. Very, very kind of him to invite us
So there can't be any
back
repetition of that.
after your
because,
behaviour last year when you emptied his wine cupboard of every drop of
I don't think I did that
of
at all.
wine it had in it. And it's behind the glass, and so that sort of mistake can't happen.
No,
you see what I
exactly.
mean? Yeah.
And people have been posting that video, which is still available on YouTube. I'm amazed you haven't had that shut down by now.
Well, I didn't know you could have it shut down, can you?
Well, you probably can.
Yeah, well, I'll probably try. Well, look, I've got nothing to be ashamed of.
Certainly, the one good thing, whenever you see a picture of the incident,
Yes.
a couple of people posted that today, all
Yeah.
the people in the box are laughing.
Yes, that's right.
They all
yeah.
think it's very funny.
Yeah, it's all merriment.
Yeah.
It's merriment, you see.
It is.
And the fans are singing, "Sacked in the morning, you'll be sacked in the morning."
Because
Well,
the
yeah, I wouldn't
stewards,
be.
of course, are going to be on extra high sort of performance duty
Well,
after what happened last night at White Hart Lane.
I mean, that was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, who benefits from that? It can't possibly be a sponsor. No,
No.
sponsor wouldn't want to get involved in
Well, apparently
nonsense
these
like
three
that.
guys are from some website. It's a bit like this kind of guerrilla marketing that they do.
Right.
And, they did
So it's not a Spurs sponsor then?
No, I don't think so. I think
I thought nobody's mentioned the name of the sponsor because they don't want to give them undue publicity. But I could have sworn that when I heard an account of it, towards the end of the game, somebody said they were an official Spurs sponsor, the name that they put on the chest, which of course couldn't have been authorised by the sponsor.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all. I agree.
Spurs will no doubt get fined on the basis
They
that
might get the ground closed down.
Yeah, they might have to play a
quite
game
seriously,
behind closed doors.
To happen once is just one eccentric nutter running on.
Yeah.
To allow it to happen 3 times is crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. And wasn't the first fellow who came on, wasn't he trying to take pictures of himself and players with his camera?
Well,
Selfies.
that's the thing. I mean, I don't understand why anybody would do anything like that. I
No.
can't see that it's of any benefit even to
No.
some small company that wants to somehow drive people to their website.
No, but you're right about this guerrilla marketing. I mean, people hire coachloads of girls with T-shirts on with the name of a firm on it,
Yeah.
just so that because they're pretty girls, the camera might, obviously, scan onto them.
But I've never seen that working, really. Have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Have you?
I don't think it was the. I think it was the South Africa World Cup. I honestly, a coachload of girls turned up.
Was that the ones that were wearing orange shirts?
Yes, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, and so was it to do with the Belgian team? Was it or something?
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't remember what they were trying to advertise.
No, you can't.
That's the point.
But on the day, they were very, pretty and very shapely girls. They had T-shirts on with the name of a company on them, and even if it was only a tenth of a second, they certainly got some flash advertising from the camera scanning over them and saying, "Oh, look at all these pretty girls."
But it can't benefit them in any way whatsoever.
Well, I don't know, but
we were talking about it actually before the show, saying that if Spurs do get somehow punished for this and they get fined, they should go after these people and try and recoup some kind of money. Because if they have to play a game without any kind of attendance, without any crowd, that's going to cost them a fortune.
Of course, it'll cost them a fortune, and I'm sure they'll already be on the case because the 3 of them were hauled off by stewards, so they'll know who they are by now.
They're helping the police with their inquiries, I believe, is the phrase.
Yeah, but the thing is, they can't possibly be Spurs fans because it's very damaging to the club for that to happen on all sorts of levels. On people saying, is security good enough for football grounds in this country? Bring in some more. And then we've all got less freedom inside football grounds. So these guys actually deserve a good kicking. I don't mean physically. I don't advocate violence.
No,
but certainly mentally and in terms of their social adhesion to other people, they deserve to have the boots put in on them. But metaphorically,
they probably
not advocating violence.
They probably won't get that much of a punishment, unfortunately. But,
yeah, well, that's it. But anyway, we're going to be there, and it's going to be, utterly first class, because I feel so thrilled about Everton's performance tonight. Spurs did okay as well; they won, so it's going to be set up for a great game, a really great game.
Yeah, it really will. Now, while we're on the subject of football, we should talk about Mr. Whelan up at Wigan as well, because we spent a long time last week talking about what he'd said in an interview and various other things that he'd said. Some people were upset that anyone was making a big deal out of it, but the FA have now decided that what he did say was in fact offensive, and they've now charged him, haven't they?
Yeah. And he said, if I'm charged or
if he's found guilty, he said that he'll give up.
I think he said even if he was charged, he'll give up on the club. What does that mean, though? Because he owns the club. So what does he mean? He's going to sell it? Is anybody going to buy it? I mean, was he going to walk away from it? What does he mean?
I don't think he's going to walk away from Wigan.
Well, I don't know what he means when he says, I will quit the club. I mean, you can't. You own it. It's like saying, right, if the council put a yellow line in front of on the road in front of my house, I'm going to quit my house. Right. What are you going to do? Just walk away and leave it?
Right. Well, no, you can't. But I mean, I suppose he might sell it. I mean, maybe like Hassan Maman said that he was going to do that with Hull, didn't he?
I don't think anybody would buy Wigan, to be honest.
And I don't think he
no disrespect to Wigan, but I mean, they're not a fashionable club. And if they sold, if the club was sold, it wouldn't be worth very much.
Right. So what do you think is going to happen then?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
he's got, I think, until Monday to answer the charge.
Whelan works in his own mysterious ways. He's a gentleman of his own core values, which he applies to life. And how he interprets this and what he's going to do next is impossible to predict.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So tell us what we're going to do in the next hour, because we've got a cab driver coming on from New York City, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because we've had that great story this week about Mr. Mellor, who got himself into a bit of trouble with a cab driver who recorded everything that he said to him.
Well, I mean,
when it all went
that was
horribly
fantastic.
wrong.
We've got to talk about that. I mean, cab driver stories are legendary in our business.
Well, they are.
I mean,
and there's a lot of cab drivers listening even as we speak.
I've had cab driver problems in Moscow, in what's the capital of Romania?
Bucharest.
Bucharest, in New York, in London.
When you say problems, what do you mean?
Oh, I mean...
There's Mellor's problem, and the reason he got very rude with this guy was he said that he was taking the long way round and he wasn't going the correct route.
I haven't listened to the tape of Mellor abusing this taxi driver, but I've seen the printout of the dialogue.
Transcript of it,
And it was shocking. It went on and on and on, he wouldn't let it rest, Mellor.
Because it's one thing if you get into an argument with a cab driver and, it begins and ends really rather quickly normally. You don't just go on and on about it, do you?
Either the cab driver throws you out or you say, stop, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
That happened to me once. I had a cab driver once. This was down in Surrey. I was coming back from my sister's. I'd been there like having dinner with my mum or something like that. I got a cab saying, and so it wasn't a black cab. It was a
a mini cab.
Was
it a mini cab?
No, I don't know what mini cab means. This was a Mercedes limo from a limo firm.
Right.
I have an account with a limo firm down there to take me home.
Very nice. Another man of the people move from you then.
Sorry, why are you being so sarcastic about
why
that?
wouldn't you just use a minicab? Why don't you know? How come you don't know what a minicab is?
Because sometimes minicabs come along and they are literally battered old wrecks. I had a guy once, turned up, and this was a minicab thing when we couldn't get a driver, you know what I mean? And the fella turned up, and I got in the car, and it was so filthy, it was unbelievable. I said... Sorry, I said, are you sure this is a minute? He said, I only do this part-time. He was like some sort of country fellow, I only do this part-time. I said, what do you do for the rest of the time? He says, I transport cats and dogs around in this car.
Really?
From vets
from Somerset, presumably.
To farms and all this. I don't know where he was from.
Sounds like he was from Somerset.
And I said, how recently did you... He said, I had 8 cats in the back this morning, and it smelt like it as well. It was absolutely dreadful, disgusting. There was
did you get out then?
Well, I couldn't because I had to get home. There was hair all over the seats. It was disgusting. I felt like
That sounds like a very unusual experience, though. I mean, I can't say that's ever happened to me.
It is very unusual. Anyway, we only got about a mile, and this guy was driving like a complete maniac. And he didn't have any brakes, or he didn't appear to have any brakes, because every time he came to a bend or something, the car was going over on 2 wheels. Right. So I just banged on the dashboard. I said, stop. I said, stop. He said...
Were you sitting in the front?
I was sitting in the front. Well, I wasn't going to sit in the back, because the back was in worse nick than the front, because all the cats had been in the back, in cages and things. It was disgusting. And I said, stop, I'm getting out. He said, you owe me. I said, I don't owe you anything. You're a maniac. You're a nutter. This is a filthy, disgusting, stinking car. I'm reporting you to the police. If I were you, I'd get out and set fire to your car, mate. That's the best thing you can do.
Lucky he wasn't recording you.
Yeah, I was lucky he wasn't recording me, And I had to walk the rest of the way home, which was about 3 or 4 miles.
And so ever since then, you've used this limo company then?
I always use the limo company because they're nice, clean cars.
Yes.
I like
a lot more expensive, though, surely.
They are a bit more expensive, but I like the car I'm driving to smell of leather, to smell of polish, to smell of the sort of stuff they use to clean the seats, whatever that is, you know what I mean? And I like the driver to have a tie, a shirt and tie on. Oh, yeah.
And a cap, perhaps?
No, not a cap. Don't be silly. You see, you have to be sarcastic about everything I say.
Because you've got this attitude about, how you should be transported around in the world, and you should only be transported around in very nice limos.
I'm only trying to maintain standards.
Are you?
If everybody maintained standards like I do, the world would be a better place.
Maybe so.
It would be.
But then there wouldn't be any minicabs, would there? Because nobody would go in them.
I don't know what a minicab is. Does a minicab mean a small car?
No, it doesn't.
Well, what's it mean, then?
It's a taxi that is not a black taxi, basically.
I don't know.
It's called a private hire in some places.
All right, private hire, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, you get all sorts of problems. In Bucharest, the driver tried to fix me up with a couple of prostitutes, right?
Right.
Who happened to be his sisters.
Deary me.
Yeah, exactly, which, was a very awkwardly...
All you wanted to get to was the airport, presumably.
Well, no, this was coming from the airport into town. This was when I'd just arrived and all this kind of stuff. In Moscow... I got back to the hotel only to be told by the guy who stands outside with the peak cap on outside the hotel.
The doorman.
The doorman, that's right. He said to me, he spoke a bit of English. He said, I don't know how you got back. I said, why? He said, you have just been dropped off by a gangster. I'm amazed you are not dead. He would have robbed you and taken your wallet. And that's just because I came out of the football ground where the Champions League final had been played, the one that very dramatically won by Manchester United.
I've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, I was intoxicated on vodka because I'd been, a guest at somebody's box. And
so you just got into some random car?
I did.
You have to tell us the rest of this in the next hour because we've got this guy, Eugene Salomon, who's got a book out called Confessions of a New York Taxi Driver.
Okay.
And he'll tell you how to avoid that kind of thing in the future. This is Talk Sports Extra Time with the two mics. There will be a podcast out a little bit later on. Hopefully it won't be quite as troubled as last Friday when we had a few problems with it, but it should include the quiz, which is on Everton a little bit later on.
Oh, is it? On Everton?
You didn't
tell me that earlier.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I don't like to tell you too early what the quiz is about.
In case I prepare myself for the quiz.
And this should be a subject
Cheating
that you know.
Again.
Well, it should be a subject you know quite
confident.
a lot about.
I'm pretty confident, mate. I'm a student of the history of Everton Football Club, so I haven't got a problem there.
We drafted in a special quizmaster for it, somebody who is indeed a big fan of Everton.
Oh, really?
Because...
You won't be as big a fan as me. So
no, I know
okay.
that. I know that. Now, here's one from Tommy in Chester, who's texted it to 81089. He says, Mike, if Porky is from Chester, like he says, he'll know King Cabs is a minicab company in Chester, private hire. I work for them, and I'm on a shift now. Tell him I drive a 2008 Jaguar, and it is not an old banger.
Oh, okay.
So let's keep up the good work.
Now, King Cabs is located in Bridge Street, or at least it was in my day. And when you used to stay in these nightclubs till like 2:15, 20:2 in the morning, and they used to stop serving at 2 and throw you at 2:2, and you'd been lucky enough to associate with a young lady.
Yes.
You had to walk down Foregate Street, I think it was, the other end of town, down into Bridge Street, and there was always a queue coming out the door.
So there was like a cab rank down there, was there?
It wasn't a cab rank, no. It was one office, you see. It was a little shop, which was King Cab's office, and people would pile in and sit there. Those could get in, sometimes it's freezing cold in the winter, and if not, you were huddling outside. And in those days, you didn't have these systems where the controller could send out instructions to where the next cab should go. They all came back to the office after each run.
Right.
So, you'd hear a car, it was a bit like the Cutty Sark, who could get back to the office next for the next fair.
Why is that like the Cutty Sark?
Well, because the Cutty Sark used to race home from India with the tea to get the best price. When they got to, that's why
a bit of a longer journey, though.
That's why it's called the East India Dock, right? You've got it? That's the Indian connection, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know.
You know that India used to be a company owned by Britain. It wasn't a country at all.
I know.
That's why it's called India.
And it was
East
run
India Company.
largely by a lot of Scottish people as well.
It was actually, yeah. That's absolutely right, yeah. But anyway, so the King Cab cars, and in those days they were Ford Zephyrs with the long bonnet. You know those I'm talking about?
Yeah. And the pointy kind of wings at the back.
No. The one with the very long bonnet, very square, very chunky, very long bonnet. They were Ford Zephyrs or Consuls, or they were Cortinas. Some of the guys had big Vauxhalls called Crestas. But anyway,
they've obviously got up in the world. They're driving Jaguars now.
Well, a 2008 Jag. That's.
I know you don't like old cars.
No, I do. I like old Jags. Old Jags are great.
I should tell you, actually, after that conversation we had about the fog lights, which people are still going on about on Twitter. By the way, of course, we're at the two Mikes on Twitter, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG. People are still arguing about the fog light situation and saying that, you shouldn't put them on. I was driving up through quite a lot of fog tonight on the way into work. And I put them on again and found lots of other people had them on.
That's
and
right.
I didn't find them in any way off-putting at all.
Apparently there was an awful lot of fog across Britain yesterday.
Yeah.
Much of it didn't get down here, but apparently there were parts of Britain, like going over the Pennines, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
But you know what happened to me after
after
that conversation we had about the fog lights? I got in the car on Tuesday morning, and my rear right-hand light, which is the light that becomes the fog light, had gone. It had blown.
What do you mean the light that becomes the fog light?
Well,
I've got separate fog lights.
Yeah, well, you don't necessarily have separate fog lights. I mean, it's in that part. Most cars have only got one fog light at the back, right?
No, I've got two.
You've got two?
Yeah.
Well, some have two. I mean, the Land Rover's got two, but this one I've got has only got one.
Right.
But that particular bulb had gone. So I had to go. So I thought it was a bit of karma for all those people who think I'm doing the wrong thing by putting the fog lights on.
Interesting.
That was karma. But it only cost me £4 to replace it.
OK. Well, I'm glad that you've replaced it. Now, getting back to King Cabs, right, in Chester, because we've got a correspondent who has been good enough to contact us. So we'll talk about him. So one night, I associate this young lady who lived about 12 miles away. She lived up the Wirral in a place called Neston. And I said, do you live in Mum and Dad? Oh, no, I've got my own flat there. I said, great, over a shop in Neston, because she worked locally there.
Sounds lovely.
I said, I'll come back with you. So, anyway, unfortunately, she stitched me up. Because obviously I thought that it was going to be my lucky night, so I got in the cab with her, we went away to Neston, and
quite a long journey that as well.
Yeah, it was quite a long journey, and I said, okay, and she said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't invite you in. My flatmate's with me. It'd be too. So you might have told me that. When
so you went all the way to Neston and you had to go back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this is the talking to our friend who's the King Cab driver. So she wouldn't let me go in. So I thought I'd been on a promise, and of course, I've felt
huge
like
misjudgment on your part.
Huge misjudgment. Well, I think she fooled me just to get herself home,
maybe,
and got me to pay for the cab. But anyway, so when she got out of the car, I said to the driver, I said, God, blimey, I said, what do you think about that? He said, not a lot. He said, what do you want to do now? I said, well, I want to go home, of course. You take me home. He says, OK, but that will cost you another. I don't know what it was in those days.
Well, why wouldn't it? Because if you're going back the same way you came, it'd be another £12, wouldn't it?
No, but he had to go back anyway to the office.
So you thought you should do it for nothing?
Of course I did.
Well, he's a cab driver. That's how he makes his living.
Excuse me. So I said, he said, no, I'm sorry, mate, it's going to cost you £12. I said,
that seems perfectly reasonable.
I said, I've got £12. I said, I spent all my money on drink on that young lady. Said, now I've spent another £12 getting her home. Said, she's now slammed the door in my face. I said, we're in the middle of nowhere, virtually. Once you get outside of Neston, you've got like 12 miles of the Wirral, back Chester. I said, what do you expect me to do? He says, not my problem. Get out. Threw me out. I'm not joking. I had to walk up to the main road, which was about 2 or 3 miles away, through very, very dark country lanes.
I'm sure
anybody could have leapt out and massacred me. Seriously,
if they were hanging around there.
Yeah, if there was a loony hanging around at that time of night, I'd have been done for, right? And I kept shouting out as I was walking down these country lanes, come on, I'll have you, and all this kind of stuff, just in case there was a nutter. Well, I thought there might be a nutter lurking behind a tree. You don't know.
Yeah, because in the country, the trees are full of people hiding behind them.
Well, you never know. Anyway, I get up to the main road, and then I had to literally thumb it home. And this is now like 3:30 in the morning. Very dangerous, in those days.
So how did you get home in the end, then?
Well, some guy stopped in a 3-wheeler van, believe it or not.
Well, were you hitchhiking?
I was hitchhiking, yeah.
That's
sweet
pathetic,
hitchhiker.
It's very dangerous at that time of night.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and some guy, he was a weirdo as well. Some weirdo, about 6'8", in a 3-wheeler van. He could hardly get in himself, sitting in the
what
driving seat.
What a bizarre story.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the woman again?
No, of course I didn't. No, she stitched me up. It was terrible. Yeah.
Well, we've got Dave on the phone here, who says he is that cab driver.
Oh,
Dave,
right.
very good morning to you.
Hi, Dave.
All right.
Yeah, Dave.
Are you the cab driver that took him out to that place where the girl didn't let him in, or are you the cab driver that texted us earlier?
Yeah, yes.
Yes? What, yes to both of them?
Yes.
Well, you can't be both of them.
No, you can't. You'd be about 72 if you were the cab driver who took me into Neston. But, Dave, is King Cab still going?
Yes, it is, yeah.
And is it still down Bridge Street?
Yeah, Bridge Street is right, yes.
Yeah, OK, great. And all those nightclubs down Watergate Street and all round there?
Yes.
Great. So business is good at this time of night, yeah?
Superb.
OK, so how come you've got time to call us? Shouldn't you be, ferrying people around Blacon and Upton and Hoole in Chester?
No, No, I'm retired now.
Oh, you're retired, so you're not driving a cab?
No.
But you used to drive for King Cab, did you?
Yeah. I've lost my left leg at the moment.
You've lost your left leg?
Where has it gone?
So I can't do the clutch.
Sorry, what's happened to your left leg?
It got amputated.
It got amputated?
Yeah. I'm not sure about Dave, to be honest.
No, I'm not
I'm not
either.
sure why he rang us. I'm not sure what
when he says he's lost his left leg at the moment, does he mean that his prosthetic leg is not available to him or something?
Very possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, OK. Anyway, nice to hear from Dave, although we have to... the jury's out on the validity of what he told us.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Here's one from somebody in South Wales, Winford from South Wales. He says, I've never heard so much rubbish coming out of one man's mouth. Where does that Mr. Parry get his information from? If you jump on a moving train or a ship, you will not land in the same spot.
What?
If you jump, it means if you're standing on a moving train and you jump up in the air, when you come down, you won't be in the same spot.
Of course you will.
No, you won't.
Yes, you will.
Because the train's moving.
No, you fool. The kinetic energy in your body will take you forward at the same rate as the vehicle in which you're travelling.
Well, maybe we should have an experiment on Sunday when we're on a train.
Yeah, OK,
You jump up in the air, I'll mark the spot, and I'll see where you come down.
I don't mind doing that, and I will prove I'm right, because you see what the idiot who's just written that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to call you an idiot.
That's a bit harsh.
Idiot. All right, mate, the mistaken person who's written that doesn't understand is that, of course, if a train's moving at 70 miles an hour, but you're moving at 70 miles an hour as well on that train, when you jump up...
You just said but you weren't moving.
Hang on. When you jump up and your feet leave the ground of the train, you are still travelling at 70 miles an hour because you have the associated kinetic energy of the momentum of the train, which is distilled inside your human form.
So you'll move at the same pace as the train?
Yeah,
is your
exactly.
argument. I'm not sure if that's
true.
Well,
hang on, Neil. Let me ask you this then. If you were in the back of the train and the train was going round a bend, right, and you decided to shoot the driver, right?
I don't think I'd ever do that.
I know, but you understand what I'm saying.
I've no idea.
So you get a rifle in the back carriage. You go right to the back of the train, and you point the gun out of the window at the back. And as you go round a bend, you can see the driver, and you say, "All right, I'm going to do him." Now, if the train was travelling 100 miles an hour, would you be able to shoot the driver because of the speed of the bullet? Might not be as fast as the train in which you're travelling.
Well, the bullet would be faster than the train that was travelling, because bullets go faster than that, don't they?
Yeah, well, they do, but how much faster?
Well, I presume if you had a decent enough gun, you'd be able to do it. Otherwise, snipers wouldn't be able to do their job.
But you see, again, what you don't understand is, because you can't appreciate these things, the bullet is already moving at 100 miles an hour when it leaves the gun, isn't it? Isn't it?
But that's why you have a sight, and that's why you can, work all that stuff out.
No, there's nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. What I'm saying is, you are talking from the position of stupidity, assuming the bullet...
No, I think that's your job.
No, don't be rude. Assuming the bullet is stationary when it leaves the gun. It's not. The bullet's already moving at 100 miles an hour because it's on the train, in the gun that you're holding at the back of the train.
It's a ridiculous analogy,
No,
really.
it's not.
It totally is. Anyway, we're out of time again, just as you've started to confuse everybody. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. Coming up, we're going to go across to Rio and find out what's going on with Pele. Now, does that remind you of Rio, that particular piece of music?
Not really.
No?
What would remind me of Rio would be a song which had Rio in it, like Duran Duran, or something like that.
Brazilian music, though.
The other guy did a Rio song was Mike Nesmith, who was late of the Monkees, right? And it was, I may only go down to Rio. I
wondered how long it would be before you started singing. Yeah. Well, John's got a whole Rio repertoire in there. But anyway, Let's talk now to Robbie Blakely. He's with the Rio Times over there, senior contributor, because there was news in the last 24 hours or so that Pele was not feeling particularly well. He was moved to a special care unit, but supposedly he's now doing fine. Let's find out what the latest is from Mr. Blakely. Robbie, very good morning to you.
Hi, morning.
Yeah, hi, Robbie.
Thanks for joining us. The latest we've heard here is that he's sort of on the mend, Pele.
Yeah, there have been some conflicting reports, I think, between the Brazilian press and the international press about Pele's condition. It seems to be reported as more serious by some of the international reports I saw. The absolutely latest that I've got for you comes from Sport TV, a Brazilian sports television channel here, which says that Pele hasn't responded well to antibiotics that he's been on. He's now been doing dialysis in the intensive therapy units at the Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo. However, he is improving, and he should be out in about 8 to 10 days.
No, that's good news, Robert, because obviously when anybody in the sporting world hears anything about Pelé, we all panic. He's getting older, obviously, and he's not going to live forever, but we hope he lives for a good few years yet. And we all start thinking, oh, no, you know, what could be happening? You know, we think about, you know, Muhammad Ali and that sort of thing. I would imagine within Brazil, the panic and the paranoia about Pelé and his health is even greater.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He's obviously an idol here. There have been a seemingly endless factory line of talent coming off the Brazilian conveyor belt, but obviously Pelé is the greatest, certainly in Brazil, if not of all time. It's caused an enormous amount of interest, this story, and there is a sense of relief that, although it has been a far more serious problem than was initially thought, he is on the mend, and he's already talking. He released a statement on Twitter earlier, speaking of picking up his international obligations early next year.
Right. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, obviously he's a very revered figure in the world of football everywhere, but I mean, is he still as revered by some of the younger Brazilian people? I'm thinking particularly about those who weren't that happy about the way the World Cup was put on and the people who kind of, saw football as not necessarily the answer to Brazil's problems. Is he still as revered by some of the younger people who may never have seen him play?
I think as a player, I mean, his the legend around his playing career is still extremely strong. I think perhaps in a political sense, he's not revered quite as strongly with some of the comments he made. He came out before the World Cup criticising the protests or the prospect of protests during the tournament, which didn't win him many sympathisers amongst the younger generation here in Brazil. But in a sporting sense, no, he's still absolutely seen as above the rest.
Talking about the World Cup, Robbie, how is the legacy going for, the World Cup infrastructure? I know you've got an Olympics to come and all that, but for instance, if I told you the latest news here about the Olympic Stadium in this country, is that I think it's nearly £250 million has now been spent on it to try and reshape it for use as a domestic football ground. The whole of the new Arsenal Stadium, which takes 60,000 people, only costs £350 million to build. I mean, these things never work out. How's it looking in Brazil?
No, the numbers are thrown around. There's still, with the World Cup legacy, there are still some concerns with some of the stadiums that were built in places like Natal, Cuiabá, Manaus, that don't have huge teams for people to follow.
Yeah.
I expect they'll be used for things like music concerts, fairs. But no, I think they are going to be left with a few stadiums that are going to be white elephants. I'm
sure you're right. In Cape Town, for instance, when we were all there for the South Africa World Cup, I mean, the stadium in Cape Town, which was just opposite where we were staying, magnificent stadium, I understand now hasn't been used since the World Cup in 2010 and is now starting to decay. It's less than 6-7 years old, and that's always going to be the problem. But, of course, the Olympics are yet to come, aren't they?
Yeah, the Olympics are coming up in a couple of years. I'm afraid I can't talk about the Olympics that much because I have a contract with the Olympic Committee. But,
okay, yeah, no problem. They're not there yet. Anyway, we were talking about Pelé initially. What about the state of Brazilian football after the World Cup?
The national team?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they've had a turnaround under Dunga. There wasn't a great deal of enthusiasm when he came back in. He wasn't seen as a great coach when he was in charge the first time between 2006 and 2010. So they've won the 6 games they've played under Dunga. They've conceded just 1 goal. Monday evening saw the draw for the Copa America group stage where Brazil will play Colombia again, who of course they met in the World Cup quarter-final. As well as Colombia, they're going to play Peru and Venezuela. And I think before, perhaps the Copa America wasn't seen as a hugely serious tournament for Brazil. After the shocking result in the semi-final against Germany, the heaviest defeat a team suffered in the World Cup semi-final, it's become an event of enormous importance and a tournament Brazil needs to win to get back on track.
Sure.
And I guess so. Well, Robbie, thanks very much indeed for the update. Here's what Pele tweeted out earlier. He says, I was simply relocated to a special room because he was saying
people were worried
because, I mean, that's obviously what a big figure is. People kept trying to visit him, you know?
Yeah.
And did that happen to you when you were in hospital? Did you get a lot of visitors?
I got some visitors, including Ted, who was...
Ted who?
I can't. Ted Buxton, who was England scout to Terry Venables when I worked at the FA, and he just wandered in one day in an England tracksuit, and people could wander in and out because, you know, I was close to the brink. You see what I mean?
So they could just walk in and say, "How you doing?"
Nudge, wink, wink. You know, it's an indication of, well, you better come now, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Right.
And people could just come in and visit. Yeah.
Do you think they were coming in just to see how bad you were?
I think some of them came because they thought, you know, will this be the last opportunity without getting too maudlin, you know what I mean? So, I mean, but you know, the best thing that happened there was, I'm not sure if I told you the story.
Well, presumably it was Wayne Rooney signing the shirt, wasn't it?
Well, that was great, yeah. Wayne Rooney signed the shirt and sent it to me, and that was great. That could have saved my life. That could actually have saved my life.
You said it did save your life.
Well, in my view, it is. The doctors said that the mental battle against what you had was paramount, and you were very, very strong mentally. But getting a shirt from Wayne Rooney at a time when he was still an Everton player did, of course, help. But what happened was I was lying in the bed there fighting for my life, you know, wired up to this heart machine and all that, and the phone rang. And there was a young doctor who was in the ward. I was in a single room. You know, they're very
private
sick.
Room.
Yeah, private room. They're very sick. Have to have their own.
Did you have to pay for that?
Well, I wasn't paying for it, but Harefield is such a hospital where there are loads of private rooms because people do have such extreme illnesses, you know, and they have to be treated individually. Anyway, I said to the doc, "Oh, doc, I haven't got the strength. Can you answer that phone, please?" And the doctor answered it, and he said, "Oh, hello." He said, whatever the name of the ward was, in Mr. Parry's room. And he said, well, I'm not sure I can talk to you at the moment. Who's calling? And then this doctor sort of went white in the face, you know.
Who was it?
Geoffrey Boycott.
Really?
Ringing from India. Because he was commentating on a test match in India. And we'd done a lot of work with Geoffrey on things like he came to the open goal for us at Royal Lytham St Anne's and all that kind of stuff. And I got to know him very well. And I'd been up to Yorkshire and had dinner with him and all that kind of stuff. Then he heard I'd been struck down with this near-fatal illness, you know. But it turned out the doctor played cricket for Oxford University. And he was a massive cricket fan. You see what I mean?
Massive Geoffrey Boycott fan.
Well, obviously. And when he picked up a phone and he couldn't believe it, he thought the guy was joking. He thought he was having a laugh.
Right.
But Geoffrey's
that was very
accent,
nice of him to call you all the way from India.
Geoffrey's accent is quite distinctive. He's very much a Yorkshireman, and he's proud to be a Yorkshireman. And wants to play Yorkshire cricket. Wants to play cricket for England. You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. And anyway, of course,
that's not a bad Yorkshire accent.
Yeah, it's not bad. And of course, I did speak to Geoffrey because you don't turn down phone calls from Geoffrey Boycott.
No, you don't say I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so that was I don't know why we were talking about that.
We were talking about Pele having too many
visitors.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I suppose he would, wouldn't he? I mean, everybody wants to visit him, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, this is what he had to say. He said, "I was simply relocated to a special room within the hospital for privacy purposes only. While I appreciate all the visitors that came to see me, I really need to continue my treatment and recovery in peace.
Yeah.
I am blessed to receive your love and support, and thank God this is nothing serious."
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
So we can wish him a speedy recovery by the looks of things.
Absolutely.
But you do wonder, and because there are lots of young fans who may never have seen Pele play. Whether he is as kind of well revered as a footballer, even in Brazil, as he was by the older people.
Take your boys growing up, OK? Now, how old are they now?
They're 10 and 7.
OK, what happens when you say to them, Sir Bobby Charlton?
Yeah, never heard of him.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Literally never heard of him.
No, you have to explain who these people are.
He must be our greatest, most famous living footballer, isn't he, Sir Bobby Charlton?
Yeah.
But, I mean, wasn't Pele beyond a footballer? Didn't he actually become, Minister of Sport and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he became part of the kind of the political sort of process in Brazil as well. And he was a very important figure for Brazil because he was kind of the poster boy for Brazil really for so long.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, in this country, we never treated and still don't our top footballing heroes who were our 1966 World Cup winning team, Alan Ball, Bobby Charlton, Bobby Moore, the late Bobby Moore, late great Bobby Moore, late great Alan Ball. We never treated them like the Brazilians treated their footballers. No. We almost dismissed them. We're always dismissive of them. I mean, the great story Geoff Hurst always tells is that the day after winning the World Cup, he was actually mowing the lawn in his front garden when somebody passing said, "Hi, Geoff. And he's, you know, imagine that happening today.
I know, it just wouldn't, would it? Well, I mean, it's a long time for us to celebrate winning a World Cup, I think, as well. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. We're going to talk to Eugene Salomon coming up soon. He's the guy who's written a book, The Confessions of a New York Taxi Driver.
That's great.
We'll get the end of that Russian taxi story as well. This is TalkSport.
Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. We'd live the life we choose, we'd fight and never lose. Those were the days, oh yes, those were the days.
Now that is an old song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very old song, yeah. Do you know why we're playing that?
No, why are we playing that?
Well, because I keep an eye on the music scene very carefully, you know, and she's making a comeback. Mary Hopkins, yeah, she's bringing out a new record, and
she must be pretty ancient by now, mustn't she?
I think she's 65, and you know, it's a long time since we heard from her. But reading between the lines and looking at what she's doing, she seems to me to have been carrying this sort of bit of a grudge all these years that her career ended when she didn't win the 1970 Eurovision Song Contest because she had a song.
She did win one of them, though, didn't she?
No, she didn't.
She
This is the point. Now that song there.
Because I remember it vaguely from my childhood, and I always assumed she won that.
No, I'll tell you what happened. That song there, Those Were the Days. The Beatles formed the recording company Apple.
Yeah.
So they needed artists, right?
Yeah.
So they got Badfinger. Do you remember them?
Yes.
You know, if you want it, here it is.
They didn't sign very many artists, did they?
Well, no, not really. But what I'm saying is, those they signed, they usually wrote songs for.
Right.
You know, the Beatles were so prolific in their writing ability. Now, that song has always been credited to Paul McCartney. Those were the days, my friends. In fact, John Lennon wrote it, believe it or not. Yeah. And John Lennon wasn't into sort of
I had no idea that he wrote
pop
that.
songs. He did. John Lennon wrote it, but he was busy doing something. You know, the Beatles were going in all sorts of different directions by the time Apple's formed. Brian Epstein had died, you know. So Lennon wrote it, and he just gave it to McCartney and said, yeah, try that for your new... Because McCartney signed Mary Hopkins,
right.
So she was kind of his artist, and John said, Paul, I don't know if this will help, but have a look at that. I've just scribbled that out for you. And
but it became a massive hit, didn't it? Even if it didn't win the Eurovision Song Contest.
Massive number one. But the point is, John Lennon wrote it, but Paul McCartney produced it,
right?
Bizarrely, and it went to number one. Introduced Mary Hopkins as I think she was 18 when that record got to number one.
You know, it's Mary Hopkin, don't you? By the
Mary
way,
Hopkin.
No,
Mary Hopkin. You're
Sorry
right.
to correct you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Correct me. I don't mind being corrected as long as you've got your facts straight.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I have.
It's when you correct me and you get your facts wrong that I feel like pushing a blancmange in your face.
Yeah, not that you advocate violence of any kind.
Actually, if I had to describe what your face looked like most of the time, I'd say it was a blancmange, to be honest. But I'm
Somebody's
not going to be
pointed
rude.
out, by the way, already that on Monday night you vowed not to insult me anymore on the air.
Well, I'm not insulting you. I'm just making
you said I had a face like a blancmange.
Well, that, to be honest, is a fairly accurate description of what your face looks like. So that's not an insult. That's just being factual. Anyway, let me get round to Mary Hopkins. So, Mary Hopkin, thank you, yeah. So, then...
You're struggling with that surname.
Then she had, I think she had another song in between, but then came the 1970 Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah. So that wasn't the song for this?
No. That was just her debut single, which went to number one.
I seem to remember her sitting in a rocking chair. Did she sit in a rocking chair
and
sing?
And she was singing Knock, Knock, Who's There, which I think we've got, actually.
I remember that song as well,
Listen to this.
And as I close my eyes, I get the strangest feeling. Knock, knock, who's there with his beloved calling?
No, that's another song written for
Did John Lennon write that as well?
No, John Lennon didn't write that.
I hope not.
I don't know who wrote that.
Not one of his better ones,
No. John Lennon wouldn't write stuff like that. I mean, one of the reasons the Beatles broke up was because John Lennon called that granny music written by Paul McCartney, but I don't think Paul McCartney wrote that, if you see what I mean.
No, I don't think so.
Those sort of songs.
So that was the Eurovision song, was it?
So that was the Eurovision song.
Right.
She goes into the Eurovision Song Contest as a massive favourite.
After having had this big number one hit.
After having had the big number one and being backed by the Beatles, who were they're like the world's biggest ever pop group that ever been, you know what I mean? So she goes into it thinking, I'll win it. And I think it was in Dublin. And what happened was, this little schoolgirl called Dana came forward and started singing Earl Canes of Everything. Oh, yeah.
We've got this one as well.
Yeah.
But you've actually done some research for this. I didn't know you were going to do all this.
Oh, yeah. Rocking chairs.
Why are you kind of pushing your face into like a leprechaun's
well, because she's Irish. She's Irish. And this is the chorus here. Oh, canes and everything remind me of you.
You sound like that woman from Father Ted.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so she's singing it, right? And all of a sudden, the judges start voting.
Yeah.
And
how old was Dana then?
About 18.
Right, okay.
She's about 18. I think Mary Hopkins...
Tragically, I remember all of this stuff.
Right,
because in those days, you all watched the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, they did.
Because it was quite an exciting thing.
21 million people watched the Eurovision Song Contest.
I mean, now it's become a bit of a joke, isn't it?
It's a complete joke. It's all very political now, isn't it?
It's not even that. It's just not very good.
It's not very good.
I mean, it probably wasn't very good then, but it wasn't much else on.
No, that's right. That's absolutely. You only had like 3 channels in those days, didn't we? BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. Anyway. So 21 million people watching. There was no audience participation. It was just the judges, And now over to Poland. Poland, your votes, please. And all this kind. Well, it was Katie Boyle, actually, wasn't it?
Was it?
And now over to Poland. Poland, your votes, please. Yeah, Katie Boyle. I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, the votes come in, and all of a sudden Dana wins. And the thing is, she didn't even have a proper dress on. She thought she was just having to do it for the sake of being Irish and Ireland. Didn't expect to win. Suddenly won. Then she gets catapulted into
what do you mean she
stardom.
didn't have a proper dress on?
Well, she had like the sort of dress on that you might see a girl wearing in a shop serving behind the counter or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Not very glamorous.
No, exactly. It didn't sparkle or anything like that. You know, it was like a bit of a sack, really, as I recall. But then she
Maybe
sung
that was
this.
deliberate.
Maybe it was. I mean, look, she's a very pretty girl. Typically Irish, dark hair, sparkling eyes, all that kind of stuff. Nice voice, yeah. And Mary Hopkin then sort of went into like reclusion because this
or seclusion.
Seclusion, or she became a bit
recluse.
of a recluse. Anyway, she's now decided to, as I understand it, my inside sources in the musical world.
Oh, they told you this?
Yeah. She's now thinking of coming back, and that'll be brilliant.
So did she not do anything then since that Eurovision
Well,
Song
not
Contest
very much.
time?
I mean, she had 1 or 2 other songs. Oh, I remember one. It was called Tema Harbour.
Don't know that one.
Yeah, All My Friends and Me sitting in a tangerine tree or something like that. My friends and me all climbed down and crossed the sand until we reached the sea.
That sounds like it could have been a John Lennon song.
Might have been. I don't know. I'm not sure who wrote it, to be honest. But I think that was about it. And then Mary Hopkin, who exploded onto the scene. She was Welsh, by the way. She's Welsh.
Was she?
Yeah, she was the blonde Welsh bombshell and all this kind of stuff. And she disappeared. But anyway, the good news is she's coming back.
Why is that good news?
Well, because she was a great talent. And, we're short of talent in the musical world. I, for one, will support her. If she brings out a record, I'll buy it.
You'll go and buy it, will you?
I'll go and buy it.
Have you got any of her records at the moment?
I might have.
Her greatest hits?
I might have. Not her greatest hits, but I found a box of single 45s
Oh, did you?
in my house about a year ago when I was looking for my football programmes, which I lost. I keep searching my house.
Where have you lost them?
Well, I left them in a house that I moved from. I stored them in the loft, wrapped in black plastic.
Right.
And when I went up and recovered everything from the loft, right, because they were wrapped in black plastic and they were under the eave, so to speak, I completely missed them. And it wasn't until 6 months later, when I'd finally finished emptying all the boxes from the house I'd moved from, I realised they weren't there. I went back to the house. The guy wouldn't even let me in. He thought I was a nutter. I wanted to get in and get
You're
into
not surprised?
No.
If somebody turned up at your door and said, "Do you mind if I go into your loft?"
Yeah.
I think you'd probably say no.
No, but I explained to him what it was all about. After paying money, I just wanted to go in the loft and get my... he said, "There's nothing in the loft," and all this kind of... I said, "Well, go and have a look, please." I was pleading with him. Some of those programmes...
but that's exactly why people wouldn't do it, though.
Some of those programmes went back to 1954.
Goodness
Everton
me.
programmes. I was heartbroken.
Why don't you write him a note and put it through the letterbox?
I did all that before I even knocked on his door and everything. I tried to be really polite about it and everything. But anyway, the point of the story is I still search my house now once a year trying to find my football programme, just in case.
Right.
Just in case they are somewhere.
So what was the jewel in the crown of these singles that you found then?
Well, this is the thing. I haven't looked at them all, but I found a box of 45s, and I think they must date from the mid-60s somewhere. And... now that you've asked me, I reckon Mary Hopkins' single might be in it.
Might be.
Might
well,
be.
You must have a look at them.
I will have a look at them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find somebody who's got an old turntable and I'm going to go round and then play all my records there. I've got things like The Move.
Have you?
That's the road that's over there. It's going down to nowhere. That was Roy Wood playing the slide guitar. The slide guitar is the most difficult musical instrument to play of all because you have to play it with your hands, your elbows and your knees.
Your elbows?
Yeah, the slide guitar. It's a very, very difficult instrument to play.
I'm sure it is. We have to stop now.
OK.
I'm sorry about that, because I'd like to hear more about this steel guitar. But coming up next, we're going to talk to the man who's written a book called Confessions of a New York Taxi Driver. We're going to hear more of your taxi stories, and we'll hear some of his as well. This is TalkSport. Now, assuming you know this tune, don't you?
No.
You don't know this?
Oh, is this Cheers? No, that's based in Boston. It's Friends. Friends.
No, it's not Friends.
Friends.
What are we going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about Taxi.
Yeah.
Taxi.
So it's the theme song from Taxi. You remember Taxi, don't you?
Now, hang on. Is this theme song from Taxi, the TV series, or Taxi, the film?
Taxi, the
There was
TV
a film
series.
called Taxi, wasn't there?
Was there?
Robert De Niro. You know,
Taxi Driver.
You talking to me?
Yeah, it's not that. No.
What was that film called?
That was called Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, this is Taxi then. This is the one that starred Danny DeVito.
It did.
Right. Yeah.
As the dispatcher.
Wasn't it Danny DeVito's breakthrough into fame?
What?
Breakthrough into fame, Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I guess it was, yeah. It was a great series. Anyway, we're going to talk to a real-life New York City taxi driver now, Eugene Salomon, who's been driving a cab for 37 years in New York City.
Wow.
He might have even picked you up when you were there. He might have done. Eugene, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Now,
thank
we're
you.
going to get on to your book, Confessions of a New York City Taxi Driver. But you were actually driving a cab, possibly in the 80s, when both Mike Parry and myself were there. So we might have even been in your cab.
Oh, I think I remember you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you troll up and down Second?
The fellas with the English accents, as I was told.
That's right. Yeah. Do you troll up and down 2nd and 3rd Avenue, 1st Avenue, York?
All the time.
Avenue of the Americas, 5th Avenue.
Huh.
We go to 5th Avenue,
Yeah.
Tiffany's. We go to Tiffany's to buy presents for people at home.
Why would he not do that if he's a taxi driver? I mean, that's precisely what you do.
Because some taxi drivers concentrate on Manhattan South, some concentrate on the Bronx.
Really?
So I'm just trying to make out that, Eugene is a midtown cab driver.
Well, we used to hang around in a place called Costello's on East 44th Street, Eugene. You might remember it.
Sounds familiar. That must have been a few years ago.
It got shut down quite a few years ago. Yeah,
it
but
did.
it was one of those bars on the east side that a lot of Brits used to drink in.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike's got a story for you because he was over in Russia, and we want to hear your view on this one. Tell us the story of how that ended.
Yeah, what happened, Eugene, was I came out of a football stadium after a big game, intoxicated, and, like in New York, you see all these stretch limos hanging around outside all the plush places like the Metropolitan Museum of Art when there's a dinner on and all that, Well, there are all these limos outside the football stadium. I just got into one. And all I could do is, because the driver couldn't speak Russian, and couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Russian, I just showed him my key card from the hotel. I was staying in the Metropole on Red Square, and I just told him to take me back. Anyway, when we got to the hotel, Eugene, the doorman on the hotel was amazed I'd got back in one piece. He said, "I'm surprised you haven't been shot and buried in a wood." I said, "Why?" And he explained that the car I'd come back in belonged to the driver for one of Moscow's worst henchmen, who had assumed, because I so arrogantly got in the car and flashed a ticket at him, said, "Take me," that I was a member of the gang. Well, in fact, of course, I was an innocent bystander. Now, I mean, have you had an experience like that?
Well, I've had many crazy experiences, but not one quite like that. No.
But have you had a gangster get into your taxi on more than one occasion?
I have, actually. I had one ride that it took me a while to figure it out, but when I did, I realized they were card-carrying members of the mafia. No question about it.
Oh, right. And did they pack a weapon?
I don't think so. They were actually coming from a trial.
I see.
Yeah, that's kind of outlawed. Well, you must remember Big Paul Castellano's assassination outside of Sparks on.
I was stuck in the traffic jam for that.
Oh, were you? Yeah, because I was in Costello's, funnily enough, at the time when that happened.
Right.
And because nobody could get uptown quickly enough, myself and a photographer went round, and Mickey Brennan was a photographer, got the pictures of this guy. It was literally like a scene from a movie, lying in the gutter with sort of 2 feet inside the car.
Yeah.
And it was incredible kind of New York scene.
Well, that's the best thing that can happen to a restaurant in New York.
To make it notorious.
That's a place called Spark Steakhouse on East 45th Street.
Yeah.
And it's still there and doing quite well.
Is it really still there? Golly.
Well, all those kind of steakhouses.
The publicity you get from a mafia hit is as good as gold,
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Let me tell you, the fellow who owns a restaurant down the block was quoted in the newspaper the next day as saying, if he'd only had time, he would have dragged the body in front of his own place.
yeah, I'm sure he would have done.
Very New York story, because the amazing thing about it was the two guys who carried out the hit just literally walked off into the rush hour
I thought they drove past in a car.
No, they didn't. No, they were on foot.
Well, in that case,
they walked off because it was busy.
I believe they walked on foot down to the next avenue, and there was a car waiting for them there.
Oh, I see. Because
I remember the story. Yeah.
Because it was also quoted in the newspapers after the subsequent trial that the Teflon Don, what's his name?
John Gotti.
John Gotti was actually sitting in a car on the opposite side of the road to witness
I heard that.
Oh, yeah.
To witness the assassination which he'd ordered.
I once saw him getting out of a limo. Unfortunately, while I was walking along, I think it was 59th Street, and this car just pulled across. You know how they pull across the sidewalk, and 4 doors burst open.
Right.
And I was about to give, a mouthful to whoever it was.
Right.
And suddenly the guy standing in front of me was John Gotti.
Golly.
Because I had to stop.
Really?
And he just gave me this look, and I just kind of gave him a look back as if to say, well, I kind of know who you are, so I'm not actually going to say anything.
Yeah,
because he was quite a terrifying character.
Well, imagine he was. I mean, he was well known. He ended up in Marion, didn't he?
He ended up in prison, yeah.
Which was
he died in prison.
He died in prison. It was a very high security prison. But Eugene, tell me these days. Now, in our day, most of the taxi drivers in New York spoke English or were from the English-speaking world. And in fact, we had a pal, didn't we, Paul Connew, who lived at 33 and 3rd. So we got the old tidy tide all the time. But these,
exactly.
But these days, a lot of the cab drivers don't even speak English, do they?
Well, that's not really true. They don't speak English as their first language. That's certainly true. But I'll tell you something. The truth is, I don't think I've ever met a taxi driver who really did not speak English.
Right, okay.
Well, it's not a business you can not speak the native tongue in, really. You've had some famous people in the back of your cab, Eugene, as well, haven't you?
What kind? Sorry, which kind of people?
You've had some famous people in the back of your cab as well.
Oh, I've had many of them. I've had at least 100.
Can you tell us any good stories about... Because we've had a guy here who's a former politician, David Mellor, who's got himself into a lot of trouble in the newspapers because he had a huge row with a black cab driver here, and it was all recorded by the taxi driver because he couldn't believe what he was being told. And basically, he was slagging the cab driver off, saying, don't you know who I am, all that kind of thing. Have you had any of those kind of experiences with people who weren't perhaps as nice as you expected them to be?
I'll tell you something. Funny as it may seem, I have at least 100 celebrities I've had in my taxi. Only 2 of them really were jerks. Everyone else was really quite nice. In fact, I find that the more famous and successful they are, they tend to be nicer.
Okay, who were the jerks?
I'll give you an example.
Go on.
Let me give you an example. I had Leonardo DiCaprio one time. This was many years ago when he was about 17 years old. It was before Titanic.
Right.
And he was with an entourage, a bunch of other kids, and they all jumped in the cab, very boisterous and loud, happy. And this voice comes from the back of the taxi. It says, hey, this is Leonardo DiCaprio you got back here. Now, I had never heard of him. It was before Titanic. So he wanted me to know. It wasn't him, actually. It was his friend telling me this. But he jumps in the conversation, and he wants me to know who he is. And he's telling me some of the movies he'd already been in, and then telling me that his next movie was going to be Romeo and Juliet and so on. We got into a very lively conversation. So at the end of the ride, he did something that really impressed me for a 17-year-old movie star, which was he went from being the epitome of being interesting to being interested. He started asking me questions about what it's like to be a taxi driver in New York City. And the final thing he says to me, he says, who's the best celebrity tipper you ever had? And I said, well, believe it or not, it was John McEnroe, the tennis player.
Oh, really?
Who gave me double the meter. And here's this kid, DiCaprio, and he says, well, I'm going to give you triple the meter. And he did.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
So, I mean, I thought that was fantastic. So I wrote his name down on my trip sheet because I wanted to remember his name because I wanted to impress my daughter, who had never been impressed by any celebrity I had in my cab.
Right.
And I showed it to her the next day. She was 13 years old at the time. And I said, Susie, did you have this guy? I read his name. And the scream she let out could have broken the wine glasses in the cabinet.
Wow.
She certainly knew who he was. He was a child star, a teenage heartthrob.
He was.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us who the 2 jerks were, Eugene?
Well, one of them, I don't think. He was a talk show host who was popular in the 70s, and the other one was somebody else. I'd rather not tell you.
Who was the talk show host? I'm trying to think.
I don't want to
the guy who worked for Fox.
Could have been Johnny Carson, maybe?
Well, that could have
but
been.
We better not go through a list of names.
Johnny Carson travelled in yellow cabs. Eugene, have you ever encountered Daniel Radcliffe, who, of course, is Harry Potter?
I'm afraid I have not.
Why would he have encountered him?
Because he lives there almost full time now. He lives in New York almost full time.
No, but doesn't mean he's going to necessarily get into the back of Eugene's cab.
Well, Eugene said 100 celebrities, so I can run through a few names. David Bowie, the musician.
Nope.
Okay.
He's just going to give a list of names.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll give you a few I've had.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I had Robin Williams.
Oh, Robin Williams. The tragedy of Robin Williams. Yes.
Yeah, now, unfortunately, that's what we say, isn't it?
Exactly.
But, wonderful guy, really nice guy. We really hit it off. And he actually did a couple of impersonations, impromptu, for me. He did Frances McDormand. You know, the actress?
I don't think so, no.
But how long ago was this, Eugene?
Oh, I'd say about 3-4 years ago.
Oh, I was going to say, because if you had a mobile phone these days, you could actually, record it, couldn't you? And then you've got it for posterity.
Well, that's what that cab driver did in London with David Mellor.
He did, yeah.
Eugene, appreciate your time. Is your book out over here?
Yeah, my book is out, Confessions of a New York Taxi Driver, but don't forget to mention the name of my blog, too, which is Cabs Are for Kissing, my blog.
Okay.
Cabs are for what, sorry?
Kissing.
Cabs are for kissing. That sounds great.
Cabs are for kissing.
Yeah, okay. Why would you kiss a cab?
I don't think that's what he means.
No.
Some people have just had too much to drink,
I see, yeah,
kissing somebody in a cab, I think he's talking about.
Yeah,
Eugene, thanks very much indeed.
Yeah,
Eugene Sullivan,
Eugene. Thank you very much
Confessions
indeed.
of a New York Taxi Driver. He could have come up with any number of other random names that he hadn't had in his cab.
Do you remember when he said that he don't speak English and all? They all speak English, which I accept because he's a New York cab driver. Do you remember I mentioned Paul Conyers before? Tighty, tied and toyed.
Yeah.
Didn't Paul get an award, or was going to give an award to some policeman or something, and the award got left in the back of a cab? Do you remember?
I seem to remember that story.
And the reason we couldn't get it back was the taxi driver was Russian, and this was before the Berlin Wall had fallen. So this guy had actually escaped from Russia. He'd been with some Russian delegation in New York and just fled and got political asylum. And the guy could not speak a word of English, and that's why. There was the
award
mix-up.
was never given.
Yeah, that's right.
Dear me. Well, talking about famous people, here's a couple of people have texted. Russ in Birkenhead has texted to 81089. Mary Hopkin was and may still be married to the excellent producer Tony Visconti, who produced Bowie and T-Rex, amongst others.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
And another texter has said that she suffers from stage fright, and that's why she hasn't really been
Is that right?
out and about. A bit like Kate Bush, I suppose.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, well, that's interesting. But it's good to hear she's coming back. Got a lovely voice, sweet Welsh voice, and I'll buy a new record if it comes out.
I can't wait. Don't forget you can text us on 81089, you can email us via the website talksport.com, and you can tweet us as well at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG. We should read some tweets out, actually. You've not really done that yet. Have you got any there?
Well, I'll get to them in a minute. I want to tell you an amazing fact which has come up on one of my information machines, OK?
One of your information machines?
Yeah.
What sort of information machines have you got? How many, for example?
What are you laughing at? Why do you turn everything into mockery?
Well, because I've never heard the phrase information machine.
Well, you know, it's a tab or a screen or whatever you want to call it, but it gives me information. That's why I call it information machine.
A magic information box.
What would you call an information machine?
I'd call it a mobile phone.
No, it's not a mobile phone. It's a screen upon which I get information. I mean, what would you call a car? Would you call it
a car?
No, you'd call it like a four-wheeled box or something like that. I mean, all I'm doing is explaining what it is. Anyway, look.
What's the important fact you've got then?
Jimi Hendrix was born 72 years ago today.
Was he?
How about that?
That is amazing.
Now, Jimi Hendrix died at the age of 27. He's one of the famous club, right?
Yeah.
So take 27 off 72, and you've got 30...
45.
That means 35 years ago he died, didn't he?
Is it 45?
45 years? Yeah, it is, 45 years. I mean, that is incredible. That is utterly incredible to think...
Is it?
45 years of being without Jimi Hendrix. What a terrible tragedy, eh? Utterly shocking.
Still,
but anyway,
we've got his music to listen to.
Yeah, we've still got his music, but not enough of it, of course, because he was only 27 when he died. He had a lot more. Right, you want to see some tweets?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you look for some first, because I can't have you reading them out in that stultifying way.
Here we go. It says, Mike Parry, you need to go wheat-free. Why don't I go wheat-free?
Well, maybe to get rid of your gout.
Right, here we go. Mike, I want to tell you, this comes from Greg, you've got your physics spot on. Firm understanding of Newton's law of motion and the effect inertia has on moving objects. Thank you very much indeed, Greg, who sounds to me like a physics professor.
I've got a couple on that subject. Austin says, totally right, Ray, moving with the train. If that chap who wrote in was correct, then if an air stewardess were to drop a can in the aisle, then it would hit the back of the plane at great speed. This doesn't happen.
Exactly. Exactly, that's exactly what
and
I
John,
said.
the Blackburn fan, says, Mr. Perry, bizarrely, I presume he means Mr. Parry, if you were standing on a train travelling at 100 miles an hour and you jumped up and your head went through a sunroof, so your body was inside and your head was outside, would the roof of the train slice your head off?
No.
No.
No. Because you're moving at the same speed as the train the minute you go through the sunroof. One here, and this is somebody complimenting me on my my voice impersonations, you know, of Dana and all that kind of stuff. You're the man of 1,000 voices. The only problem is every voice sounds the same. That's from Phil McGovern. That's not very nice, Phil. You clearly don't listen hard enough to the show.
So he's not actually being very complimentary. William says, I hope there's not too much steam in Porky's bathroom with a television running. That's not such a good idea. And Catherine says, tell Porky there are no bee colonies in the winter. The Queen leaves and hibernates.
OK, well, it's not winter yet. Now
you just
then,
said it was winter.
Well, it's winterish. Now then, one here, and this is a complimentary one. Go and read
Is that
it out.
between autumn and winter?
Yeah, sort of.
Winterish.
Yeah. Ian Moore says, hi, guys. Just got stuck into the podcasts on your show. It's now a highlight of my working week to listen to you. Thank you. And that's from Ian. Well, I don't mind reading those out because I like a few compliments. They make me feel better. Thank you very much indeed. And Chris says, in regard to his laws of physics, at Mike Parry 8 is right, unfortunately, MG. So take note of him. So there you go.
Well, we'll run our own experiment when we get on the train on Sunday afternoon, and we'll do a bit of jumping up and down.
Here, James Green points out here, Mike, you are absolutely right. If you're on a train, you toss a ball up, it lands back in your hands, not in the seat behind you. Kinetics.
Does that depend on the speed of the train, though?
No, of course not. You're inside the train. And it says, that daft picture you put out of me with my foot in the ice bucket, Jesus, Mike, that shirt of yours is under some serious strain. Well, he shouldn't have taken a picture of me when I wasn't aware of it. I'm sorry that a little bit of my stomach was available or visible.
Available?
No, visible, but it was because I'd actually, my shirt had come open as I bent down to roll up my trouser leg to put my foot into the bucket of ice.
Yeah, how is the gout coming along anyway?
It's not good.
Now that you've bought these different pill boxes, you can now put all the pills in different places. Somebody tweeted actually before the show started saying that listening to the podcast from Monday, you were pronouncing all of the names of the medication wrong, and he said it's no wonder you're getting in a flap about it all.
No. Oh, there's a great one here from Balder the Brave. He says, hi, guys. Love listening to your show. Mike Parry's knowledge of all historical events is outstanding. He's so bright he could be an alien. How about that? That's great, isn't it?
I don't think that's particularly complimentary, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach here repeats something I said earlier, which was, I once got a taxi in Bucharest and the driver tried to set me up with two prostitutes who happened to be his sisters. Well, it's absolutely true. That's what the guy did. He said, do not take any women that are recommended to you by the commissioner of the hotel. And I said, why? He said, they will be bad women. He says, leave it with me. My sisters, they are much better. I bring them to you.
It sounds like the Russian accent's coming along quite well as well.
Yeah.
There's one from Richard, who's a Huddersfield Town fan. He says, morning, gents. Please give my beautiful wife Victoria a special shout-out as we have just left our Woking home to drive to Holyhead to get the ferry as we are en route to watch our horse Bel Bayardo run at Dundalk.
Wow.
All because I suffer from the same fear as Dennis Bergkamp. The same lady drove me around 60 racecourses in 1 week for charity in 2012.
That's
fear of flying. You've never suffered from that, have you?
No, never suffered. Fear of heights I've suffered from.
Really?
I had to stop the big wheel once when I was on it because I was terrified. I thought it was going to crash.
What big wheel?
Well, you know the big wheel at the fairground that goes round?
No, the Ferris wheel.
Well, they were called big wheels in my day. Before you had the one that's now the London Eye, which is a Ferris wheel, a huge thing, which moves slowly. The big wheel moves very fast, doesn't it? Remember?
It's still a Ferris wheel, though.
Well, we never called it Ferris wheel. We called it the big wheel.
Did you?
And you get into these compartments, three of you, and I was convinced it was going to fall off.
And they're open, aren't they?
They're open, and they only got
a little chain across, or something
a little
like
bar
that.
or something. You know, I was convinced that I was either going to fall out or fall off, so I had to have it stopped.
They don't like it when they do that, do you?
I started kicking my legs out, waving my arms, and going like this to attract the attention of the operator. Yeah, and eventually stopped and said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm having a panic attack."
Right.
The other one I had a panic attack on was the magic carpet. Have you ever been on that?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
What's the magic carpet?
Well, what happens is it's a huge flat
rug.
No, but it's meant to look like a rug, but it's a huge flat thing with seats on it, right? So it is meant to look like a rug.
Right.
But it's
just a fairground ride, is it?
Yeah, it's a fairground ride. And then it suddenly goes whoosh, whoosh.
I should say that he's now motioning from left to right.
Whoosh. That's right, absolutely. Whoosh, 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 and then it starts rising up like a magic carpet would, and then all of a sudden it's going whoosh, 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 and it's so frightening because you're being jerked forward and then stop and then back and then stop. You break your back.
Is it going particularly high?
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. I had to have that stopped and get off. I was with my.
Well, maybe you just don't like fairground rides.
I was with my 9-year. My nephew was 9 at the time. I had to have it stopped and get off, and he was terribly embarrassed, of course. And the other thing that happened was, I took my niece and nephew when they were little, when they were kids, on the balloon in Bournemouth, which is fixed to the ground but goes up in the air, obviously, but on a fixed rope. I'm panic-stricken. I had to bring it down again.
Well, maybe you just got a fear of fairground rides.
I had to dive onto the floor of the balloon so I couldn't see over the edge of the basket, if you see what I mean.
So what if you're in a high-rise building, though?
No, it doesn't seem to bother me, that.
So I think you've just got a fear of fairground rides.
Well, when I say it doesn't bother me, I can't go and stand by a ceiling-to-floor window because I think I'm going to be sucked out.
So you wouldn't go along that Tower Bridge glass walkway?
No way. Did you see that it shattered the other day?
Well, apparently, Sandy was explaining this the other morning.
Yeah.
It's got very sort of several layers of glass, and the top layer was the one that shattered. So it's not as if the whole thing is suddenly now weakened.
The top layer is specifically designed to save damage to the layers which are solid and unbreakable, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it was for the very thing. Somebody dropped a beer bottle and shattered the glass.
Seemed a bit unusual to be allowing somebody to take a beer bottle.
Yeah, I couldn't work. It was a waiter. It was a waiter apparently who dropped the beer bottle. I didn't know they had waiters in the Tower Bridge. But I mean, if that had happened to me, I'd have died of fright. Honestly, it was unbelievable. No, you won't get me doing that. You know, there's one, isn't there, in the Grand Canyon?
There is,
where you can walk out from the top of the Grand Canyon and stand above the canyon itself. You know, that goes down a mile. And look through the glass floor below you. I
don't think you'd fancy that.
I can't go on these glass-floored lifts on the outside. I went in
Have
one.
you been to the Grand Canyon before?
Yeah, I've been there. I've flown up the Grand Canyon.
I played football in the Grand Canyon.
Did you?
Would you believe? Because I went on a camping trip when I was 15, and we ended up walking down into the bit of the Grand Canyon you could walk down into.
Really?
And we played football, which was the stupidest idea anybody ever had.
Yeah, I think
it was so hot.
Yeah.
That we all practically passed out from lack of salt.
I flew up it and down it in a helicopter. But the other one I can't do, and this happened to me the first time ever in San Francisco, was going to a lift with a glass floor.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I walked into this lift and I'm just standing there, and it's that building that is shaped a bit like the
Pyramid Building.
Yeah, the Pyramid Building. It's shaped like the what's the one we have in London called?
The Shard.
The Shard. It's shaped like Shard.
The Bank of America building, I think, isn't it?
Is it? I think it's Bank of America. I think you're right.
That's the one that's built on skis, so that when there's an earthquake, it actually moves.
That's right, just slides. Yeah, and I just walked in and I was standing there, and all of a sudden the lift took off, and I thought, oh, this is nice, looking at the view. And then I looked down and I saw I was looking straight through glass. And I nearly died. I nearly died of shock. It was terrible. I can't stand it. Can't stand it, honestly. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Well, you can get pills for that as well, so maybe we should get you on some more of those.
I don't need pills.
Coming up, we're going to talk about Christmas presents and beehives, because Canada's etiquette expert is coming on.
Okie
He's going to give you some buying assistance on what you should get for people. I hope you're getting me a present this year, by the way. But
no, I'm not going to get you a present. No, why should I get you a present? No, under no circumstances whatsoever.
No, maybe my kids will get something from you around about Easter time. This is Talk Sport. This shows you how on the ball they are behind the glass.
Is that Jimi Hendrix?
That is Jimi Hendrix.
I mean, that's brilliant.
Well, surely you knew that.
Well, no, I suspected it was, obviously. But apparently Jimi Hendrix could do things with a guitar that no other guitarist ever could. I don't know anything about guitars, but apparently you can play on the feedback or something. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I know about that.
Do you?
Yeah.
How do you know about that?
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
He kind of invented the sound.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, it means that a bit like when you can't create feedback with a microphone. Like if you put the headphones too close to the microphone, you can create feedback. It's because of the electronic impulses.
Yeah.
So if you put the electric guitar back close to the amp and to the speaker, it creates a horrible noise. But he was very good at that.
Yeah, but what does it mean about playing across the feedback? What you then integrate that as part of the noise, part of the song?
Noise, yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Oh,
that's what you did.
So that's a very that's a very talented thing to be able to do, is it? Very
it really
skillful.
Is. Well, it was at that time because nobody else really had thought about doing it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's interesting.
Electronic instruments were still in their kind of infancy.
Honestly, I feel such a sense of loss when a genius dies so early. By the way, talking about people dying early,
we've got to talk to a guest now.
Oh right, okay, let's do that.
So we don't want to do that.
Yeah,
we're going to talk to Louise Fox, who is Canada's #1 etiquette expert.
Okay.
Because I'm very worried about your Christmas present etiquette.
Okay, fine.
Louise, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, and welcome to you too.
Thank you for
Louise, welcome to you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm slightly worried about Mike. He's decided to announce. I'm hoping his sister isn't listening. That he's going to buy his sister this Christmas for a Christmas present a beehive, and he hasn't told her about it. And I don't think necessarily she's going to be too happy about it.
Does she like bees?
Well, she's never had any inclination towards bees, but I thought I would surprise her with this very, very novel present.
Well, it certainly is novel. I don't recall anybody ever buying that as a gift for anyone.
Okay, well, that means...
She's not allergic to bees, is she?
No, she's definitely not allergic to bees.
If she is, she'll be calling the police on you.
Well, she may be, but Louise, you've got to give me credit for my original power of thought.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, a gift is supposed to be something that a person... the person will want and enjoy and use. Is she going to use it? Is she going to raise some bees?
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to buy her...
Going to make honey for you.
Well, I hope so. I'm going to buy her a beekeeper's outfit and all that kind of stuff, Now, the thing is, Louise, you see, when you get to my time of life, early middle age, you find that if you've been...
Early middle age?
Yeah, you find you've been brought up in a certain sort of atmosphere, along with your siblings, you've got everything.
That's right, you've got everything.
Now, you see, the problem is my mum...
Including gout.
Hey?
Including gout.
Including gout. My mum now, who is in her 80s, right, she has a nightmare every Christmas because she rings all her children, says, what can I get you for Christmas? And we all say, well, I don't know, there's nothing I want. And she goes into a deep depression trying to think of something to buy us. It's a really big problem.
Well, then you have to give the gift of your time. So plan an outing or something where you all get together and go for dinner or go to a, amusement park or something. You have to give something that you use up.
Well,
no, we don't want another toaster. We don't want a blender. We don't want a new carpet.
Yeah.
We don't want a teacup.
Well,
but you have to get something that can be used.
Well, this is very good advice because what my eldest sister and brother-in-law normally do with my mum is they buy her a voucher, which is, a weekend in London to go to the theatre. You see what I mean?
But do they go with her, though?
Yeah, they go with her. Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
And also, she enjoys a drop of sherry now and then, so I sometimes buy her a case of sherry at Christmas as well, because that...
A case?
Yeah, a case, yeah.
How much sherry does she drink?
Pretty thoughtful.
A couple of glasses a night or something like that. And, yeah, exactly, because that gets used. But, you see, I've given up now buying her picture frames because there is literally no room left in her house for any pictures, either on the windowsill or on the wall or anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm there already.
The other interesting thing, Louise, is at Christmas time and even at birthdays, sometimes you want to buy a surprise present, like Mike wants to buy for his sister.
Yeah.
A beehive might be a little bit extreme, but it's. I mean, you have to know the person pretty well to get them something they really want, don't you? Without kind of giving away what you're getting.
Well, and also you shouldn't leave it to the countdown. We're almost at the countdown now. Really, we are. So you have to keep your ears open all year round and see what they actually might enjoy. People give hints all the time.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to pick up on those hints.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
So has she ever given you any hints about bees or anything? About
No. She's going to be really surprised when this.
She is, but not necessarily in a good way.
When this beehive arrives on the back of a lorry at her house, but she lives in sort of a fairly rural sort of area. I mean, for instance, a year ago when one of my sisters hit one of those core birthdays, you know what I'm talking about, 40, 50, whatever. I bought her 2 tickets for the Wimbledon ladies final.
And she's interested in tennis?
Well, she's interested more in the free hospitality that went with it, you know what I mean, all day.
Well, that was a nice present,
There's a certain amount of cachet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am, thinking very positively and very originally. What happens when people come to you, Louise, and say that, they want to buy something which will impress, but they don't know whether it might turn the other person off because it's too extravagant?
Well, you know what? You should avoid extravagant gifts because really, unless you really can afford it. But the fact is, very often it gives the wrong message. A gift should always be equal to the relationship that you have with that person. So if you buy an extravagant gift for someone you don't know very well, you're already in trouble.
You like to do that, though, don't you?
Well, what does he want? What's he after? What's this all about? But
I think that's mean-spirited. I think that's mean human spirit. That just because you spend a bit of money on somebody and want to make them feel good and all that, somebody throws it back in your face and says,
"No, but you like to."
Well, that's entirely rude.
Yeah, but
you should
Mike
always be a grateful receiver, regardless. even the Beehive.
You should
be a grateful receiver. And, maybe it won't be the best gift she ever had, but maybe it'll be an incredible surprise.
But that is the other thing.
You've got to use your social intelligence in situations like this.
But that's the other thing, Louise. I mean, quite often, the etiquette of trying to look very happy about getting a present that you really don't like and you really don't want. What are you supposed to do in that situation?
You should look really happy.
Yeah.
You should look really happy, and maybe you put it in the basement and drag it out every time they come to visit.
Yeah.
Maybe you put it in the road show 30 years down the road if you're still around, but you should be grateful that they've taken the time to pick a gift for you, period.
See, I, again, for a landmark birthday, I bought my mum a silver frog.
Silver frog?
Yeah, silver frog.
How big was it?
It was about 3 or 4 inches.
Frog size?
Sort of frog size, that's right. Now, I bought this silver frog because I thought it looked great and, it looked great on her mantelpiece at home and all that kind of stuff. But when she tried to find out how much it cost, because my mother was brought up in terrible austerity during the Second World War, I told my sister to tell her it cost £20, right? But actually, it cost £450. It was made of solid silver.
So would she have been offended if you'd spent that much money?
Lovely, Mike. I think you're just lovely, and I would cherish that frog.
Yeah, but she would have been horrified. As far as my mother's concerned, that would have been extravagant waste, and it would have taken away the pleasure she derived from having that ornament. You see, it's not the ornament in itself; it's that whenever she looks at that ornament, she thinks of her son. You see what I mean?
Because it looks like a frog.
No, because he bought it for me.
I don't know. It sounds like you're in kind of a I can't win situation here, Mike.
Well, could be, but anyway, I mean that's sometimes a problem.
I'll certainly give many points to you for thinking about it. Much better to be thinking about it, even though if it's a little bit off the mark, than a person who doesn't think anything at all.
Well, I really appreciate.
Shows up like somebody is very close to me with a mop and pail.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I very appreciate that, Louise, and you'll notice that during the course of this conversation, my broadcasting colleague here, Mike Graham, hasn't had a single blinking...
Who you're not going to buy a present for.
No, hasn't had a single blinking idea or any initiative in what he's going to buy anybody at Christmas, because basically he's one of these guys who goes out on Christmas Eve, right, with a few quid in his pocket, buys all sorts of...
None of this is true, by the way,
Buys all sorts of rubbish, right? All sorts of rubbish.
And is his name Cratchit?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. He's a miser. He's a miser, and he buys a load of rubbish for his family, takes it home and wraps it overnight. Believe me.
Well, I still have young children, Louise. So Father Christmas brings all my presents, so I can't really have that conversation, obviously.
Of course not.
Well, it sounds like you're having a great time.
Yeah, we're going to. Don't worry. Louise, we're very grateful to you, and it's been great to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Louise, thank you very much. I see you trying to ingratiate yourself with Louise there and make out that you actually are a man with great etiquette and great manners, which entirely is the wrong impression, isn't it?
No, it's not at all. What's wrong with that?
Because that's not what you're like.
What have I done wrong or said wrong?
You've kind of represented yourself as one of the most generous men alive.
Well, I'm not trying to represent that. I'm trying to say I have the spirit. I have the spirit of humanity in me. Yes.
Of course you do. We are the two Mikes. This is, of course, Talk Sport Extra Time, and it is that time when we give Porky his quiz of the week. Very popular this is. I've been given a very hard time for being too lenient on you last week.
Oh, no.
From lots of people who said
no.
that I gave you too many points, and actually you should never have got anything like 5 out of 10.
Utter rubbish. You never give me enough points, and last week I put you on the spot, and I deserved... What was the subject last week?
It was chocolate.
Chocolate, that's right. Deservedly got my Just Rewards last week. Now, if you try and change these around, I'm going to smash you across the face.
Not that you encourage violence.
No, I don't encourage violence. And it won't be on air live or anything like that. It'll be when you're not looking at Spurs on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Oh, like a rabbit punch or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. In the environment of Everton, yeah.
Yes, I think you better be careful when you're at Spurs, given your previous record there.
Yeah.
Anyway, as per usual, this quiz has been compiled by independent quizmasters. If you get
at your instruction,
If you get something correct, you will hear this sound.
Leon Osman goes up to Luis Suarez and celebrates in his face.
And if you get something wrong, you'll hear this.
Liverpool have won the Champions League. This is amazing.
Nice, isn't it? I need to be reminded of that, don't I?
Yeah, well, just in case, you try and get as few wrong as possible.
Okay.
Now, you might have heard a bit of this a few moments ago. Have a listen to this piece of music.
Well,
obviously...
Actually, I did hear that a few minutes ago because you played it as an opener to the quiz.
Yeah,
so why wouldn't I have heard it?
Yeah, that's why I said it was a different part of the of the tune.
Okay.
The question is, who wrote it?
Z-Cars?
Yeah, the theme.
What do you mean, who wrote it?
Who wrote the music?
It was written years ago.
The question is, who wrote it?
It was written decades ago.
Really?
It's not even called Z-Cars.
What's it called?
It's called Little Johnny Somebody.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
What does it matter who wrote it?
Well, that's the question. That's how much it matters.
Well, it's completely irrelevant to Everton Football Club.
How is it?
Well, because who wrote it? I mean, OK, who wrote, You'll Never Walk Alone, Carousel? Who wrote that?
Yeah, that was Rodgers and Hammerstein, wasn't it?
No. Don't know who it was.
I think it was Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No, I don't think it was.
Anyway, you're not asking the questions. I'm asking the questions. Question number one is, who wrote it? You don't know, do you? You think you'd know?
I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell me?
No.
OK.
No.
So, that's a wrong answer.
Liverpool have won the Champions League.
So what do you think the answer is?
This is amazing.
It was originally a folk song written by Frank Kidson.
Well, what a load of rubbish, honestly. I thought you were going to ask me some,
nice?
I thought you were going to ask me some questions about Everton Football Club.
Well, it's Everton's
Not
song.
some blinking folk song which turned into the theme music to a police series.
I like that.
Oh, I don't know. Right.
So Frank
Can we have
Kidson
less of this,
is
please?
the answer. Right, none out of one. Question number two. Who was Everton's first manager?
He was Everton's first manager?
Yeah.
He was also the chairman of the club.
Who was the first manager?
And it was in 1878.
I've got 1888 down here.
No. Club was founded in 1878.
I've got 1888 here.
No, that's wrong. So I'm sorry, it's an erroneous question. It's an erroneous question.
So you're not gonna
Everton's
answer that
first
one.
manager...
What was his name?
Everton's first manager would have been appointed in 1878, because that's when the club was founded, OK? Mm-hmm. Because, we've been through our centenary and a half and all that kind of stuff, right? And I can't answer an accurate question. I don't know who the manager was in 1888.
OK. It was W.E. Barclay, apparently.
Well, W.E. Barclay was chairman and manager, but you asked me a wrong question because...
I didn't. I just said who was Everton's first manager.
Yeah, but you said 1888.
Well, that's what it says here.
No, well, that's wrong. It's wrong. It's an accurate question. Sorry.
Next question. So none out of two.
Next question.
Number three. You should get this one. How many times did Everton win the league title in the 20th century?
In the 20th century, he won it in 1914.
Correct.
1928.
Correct.
1930. Hang on.
It's actually 1914-15, but I'll give you that one.
Yeah, but it was before the First World War, because we held on to it right through the war. 1932.
Yeah.
1963.
Mm-hmm.
1970.
Yeah.
1985 and 1987.
OK. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So that's your answer?
Yeah.
I've got 8 down here.
Liverpool have won the Champions League.
Why have you got 8?
1938-39 as well.
Yeah, I said that.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I didn't mark it off.
Well, I meant to say it.
You meant to say it?
No, I meant to say it because...
Well, then you didn't say it.
No, we held it all the way through the First World War,
right,
and all the way through the Second World War.
Right.
So it must have been 38-39.
But you didn't say that.
No, that's nonsense. I'd said 28-29. And
all I wanted was a number. I didn't know the years.
My brain mistook that for 1938-39.
I gave you 14.
What?
You don't. All you need to say was 8.
You're confusing me. You're confusing me. I went right through the list and got them all right.
OK, next one I'm sure you'll get. Number 4. Yeah. Neville Southall was widely regarded as Europe's best goalkeeper in the 1980s. How many appearances did he make for Everton?
World's best goalkeeper.
Possibly so.
Yeah.
How many appearances?
What, you need the exact number?
Oh, well, should we give you a 5% leeway?
He made 423 appearances for Everton. This is a ludicrous quiz. This is
750.
Ludicrous. 750.
It's the most appearances of anyone else at the club.
That's absolutely right, yes.
So far, you've got none out of 4.
This is ridiculous.
It is bad.
Stupid
Question
quiz.
number 5.
Yeah.
In May 2015, it will be 30 years since Everton won the Cup Winners' Cup final. Everybody remembers the final when Everton beat Rapid Vienna 3-1. But who did Graham Sharp score the winner against in the first round?
What a ridiculous question.
This has been compiled by an Everton historian.
I was living in America at that time.
Were you?
So to say who did they win the winner. I mean, this is a competition that doesn't even take place anymore, right?
Right.
Huh?
But they did win it. Who did they play in the first round?
The first round. Never really thought about the first round of the Cup Winners' Cup before. It was probably somebody like Borussia Dortmund.
Incorrect.
Liverpool have won
This
the
is awful.
Champions League.
Well, it's ridiculous
University
questions.
College Dublin was the team.
University College Dublin? They don't play in the European Cup Winners' Cup.
Well, they did then.
You idiot.
None out of 5.
I don't
Question
know.
number 6.
I don't think I should
think
take
get
part
this
in
one.
this anymore.
How many goals did Dixie Dean score for the club
When?
between 1925 and 1937?
He scored 343.
I'm going to give you that.
Right.
Leon Osman goes up to Luis Suarez and celebrates in his face.
349 is the correct answer.
Okay, well, there you go.
Well, I think
See?
that's very good.
Yeah.
1 out of 6. Question number 7.
6, yeah.
Who did the club play in their first ever game against as Everton Football Club?
Who did we play in the first ever game?
And it says it's in 1879.
Yeah, exactly. We were founded in 1878. We played Notts County.
Who?
Notts County.
Incorrect.
Liverpool have won the Champions League.
Well, who do you think it was?
It was St. Peter's, apparently.
Yeah, but you see, there were no leagues in those days, so all games were friendly. So it depends what you actually determine
Well, I just
as a
said
game.
I said first ever game.
No, but you didn't say professional game.
Well, it's first
And
ever
you-
game.
And you didn't say competitive game.
First
so
ever
I
game
didn't know. The
as
first
Everton
competitive
FC.
game was against Notts County.
Was it?
Yes.
Well, you've got 1 out
No,
of 7
actually, you
now.
should give me that. The
Why should I
question's
give
all
you it?
wrong.
It was completely wrong.
Question's all wrong. Question's all wrong.
Question number 8. Who scored the winning goal in a game at home against Wimbledon, a result that saved the club from relegation in the season 1993-94?
Yes, it was a very famous game that we 2-0 down. It was Graham.
Graham? Yeah, you're nearly there.
I know. I sat on the train with him on the way back from Runcorn just a couple of months ago.
You didn't take the Runcorn Widnes Bridge?
No, it did go over the Runcorn Widnes Bridge, actually.
I didn't know that
Graham...
was a train bridge.
Yeah, it runs alongside the road bridge.
Okay.
Graham, because he also put the cross in for our goal in the 1995 FA Cup final, which was scored by Paul, what's his name? What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the expression on your face, the pained expression.
It is pained. It was
Graham who? Legend of the club.
Yeah, he's legend, yeah. Graham, hang on. He also played for Chelsea.
That's not the question.
Graham, my memory's...
Beecroft?
No, you fool. Graham.
Mike Graham?
No, not Mike Graham. You're a fool. Graham. Oh, I'm searching
Graham
my brain.
Courtney?
No. Searching my brain.
There's not much in there, is there?
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
I'm going to have to hurry you on
That
this.
little bit of my brain's just been closed off for a minute.
I'll give you half a point for Graham if you like.
Graham.
Leon Osman goes up to Luis Suarez and celebrates in his face.
Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
Go on. Graham Stewart.
Stewart, of course it was. Graham Stewart. That's right. Absolutely, yeah.
Right, so you got 1.5 out of 8. Question number 9.
Yeah.
How many trophies did Howard Kendall, the club's most successful manager, win?
Does that include Charity Shields?
Yes.
In that case, it's the FA Cup in '84.
Yeah.
And the Charity Shield that year.
Yeah.
The league title in '85.
Yeah.
The Cup Winners' Cup in '85.
Yeah.
And the Charity Shield.
In '85.
Yes.
Yeah.
In '86, we were runner-up in both competitions. In '87, we won the league title again.
Mm-hmm.
And the Charity Shield.
So what's your answer?
We'll add all those up.
You got the Charity Shield in '87. Did you say?
Yes.
That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6.
Yes.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
It's not right.
No, hang on. I wasn't counting. You were. I'll tell you the number. 2 in '84, 3 in '85.
Well, why don't you just tell me the number of trophies?
Hang on.
And then you might get it right.
5. 7.
7 is correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Leon Osman goes up to Luis Suarez and celebrates in his face.
See, when you give me them all individually like that, it means that I have to mark them off. And they actually shared the Charity Shield in 1986.
Yes, exactly.
Not in 87. They didn't win it in 87.
Exactly.
That's not what you said. So you got 2.5 out of 9. Question number 10. I'm sure you'll get this one. When Howard Kendall left as manager of Everton at the end of 1987, which Spanish club did he join?
He went to Atletico Bilbao.
Leon Osman goes up to Luis Suarez and celebrates in his face.
So that's 4.
That's 3.5.
No, and they're ridiculous questions as well.
So that is basically... That's your average.
I got the one about the first game right, which you got wrong, so that's 5.
No, you didn't.
So that's 50% at least. No. And some of the questions were so stupid that I refused to raise my intelligentsia factor to try and answer them.
Your intelligentsia factor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you'd raised that a bit more earlier in the show, actually. But I mean, I think you did OK there, 3.5
Well, some very stupid questions. It's more like the history of the 19th century rather than Everton Football Club.
Well, it's
Ludicrous.
the history of Everton. Most of these questions were...
And I got the number of titles right in the 20th century. You just confused me by making me list them one by one.
I gave you that right.
Oh, did you?
I think so.
No, you didn't. You said I missed out 38, 39, but
you
I
did,
didn't.
Actually. Yeah, you did.
I knew that we'd won it in the pre-war years.
You'd have to be a bit disappointed since they are, as you say, your favourite football club.
They're not my favourite football club. They're my club.
They're your favourite football club.
I know loads about them, but you didn't ask me the right questions again.
Well, I asked you the questions that were compiled. All of this information is on the Everton Football Club website, if you'd like to check it up for next time. 3.5 out of 10. A pretty miserable
What size feet did Dixie Dean have?
Pardon?
What size feet did Dixie Dean have?
What size feet?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, size 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that wasn't one of the questions in there.
Well, it should have been.
Shay says this, Mike, I bought my sister-in-law a beehive and wasn't sure if she really liked it until my birthday came. She bought me a cheese-making kit, and I don't even like cheese. So you might get something like that
That's
back.
quite original.
And
that's a good
one
idea, actually.
What?
I might buy somebody a bread-making device. Yeah, good
bread-making device?
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Why don't you just get one of those information machines? Give one of those away.
Information machine? What's an information machine?
Well, it's where you get all your information from.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you put Everton in, obviously it's giving you the wrong information.
Yeah, it's a
and here's one from somebody on the subject of you being a man of the people. So, Mr. Parry has several houses, is transported in chauffeur-driven cars, has staff to look after him and travels everywhere first class. Hardly how an average hack lives, is it?
Well, I've been around for a long time. I've been lucky. I've managed to accumulate wealth through endeavour.
Yeah.
OK?
And now you're giving it all away.
Well, I'll give some of it away, to people who are less... less privileged than I am, like you, for instance.
John in Blackpool says...
When was the last time you paid for dinner when we went out, or lunch?
I can't remember.
No, I can't either. No. I don't think it's ever happened. Ben. Seriously.
Porky spends £400 on
This guy always loses his credit card whenever in a restaurant.
Porky spends £400 on a silver frog, but he won't spend 12 quid on a taxi fare. Cheapskate.
What do you mean? I wouldn't spend 12 quid on a taxi
Well, you wouldn't pay £12 to come back in a taxi from that girl's house, did you?
I was 18.
This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two Mikes, and of course you can find us on Twitter at the two Mikes, at Mike Parrier and at IROMG. There will be a podcast out later on this morning.
There will, and the verdict's now coming in on the quiz, OK? This is from Edmundo. He says, Mike, that's me, Mike Parrier, you've been stitched up again on the quiz, Porky. Outrageous questions, refuse to answer them. So, the audience have got the drift of... excuse me, what you're all about.
Not
here,
everybody.
Okay?
Simon in Surrey has texted in. He says, Dear Mr. Graham, can you imagine Porky on Mastermind answering the questions and saying, that's a stupid question? Because that's what you do, isn't it?
Well, right, here's another one. Well, a few people tried to help me out by sending in the name Stuart, as in Graham, because I just had a mental block on that one. I was sitting next to the bloke on a train coming back from Runcorn a few months ago. We sat in first class together and had a drink. Right, now then, here, Ryan... tonight's quiz is brilliant. Throw in the towel now, Porky, you're useless. You see, that's the sort of impression you've given people.
Well, I mean, it is your favourite football club. You should know a bit more about
It's
them.
not my favourite football club. It's my football club. You're born an Evertonian.
And just to,
I didn't choose one.
And just to also clarify the question about who the first manager was, apparently in the first 10 years they didn't have a manager. And so the first manager was in 1888.
No, rubbish.
1878.
No, utter rubbish. Now then, here's Jarvis says... on the humanity, Porky, you're crashing and burning. It don't really mean about that, do you?
I don't know either.
No. And one here. Here we go. Right. Mike Parrier, listening to you two is like listening to an episode of Derek and Clive. What's Derek and Clive?
You don't remember Derek and Clive?
No, I don't know.
Peter Cook and Dudley Moore.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
OK. And it says I'm going to get up
What's
at 3:30.
the worst job you've ever had? You never heard that sketch?
No.
No, it was brilliant.
What was the answer?
I can't really say it on the radio.
Oh, I see, OK.
No.
I'm going to get up at 3:30am every morning from now on. John, that would be nice. Thank you very much indeed. I'm not here every morning at 3:30, although I'd like to be. Mate, what are you laughing at?
What, you're not? Or he's not?
No, I'm not.
No, I know.
I'm not.
I'd like to be here at 3:30 every morning
yeah,
as well.
Yeah. Mike Graham's here at 3:30
You
every
could do a
morning.
quiz every day then.
Excuse me, we could do. However, I am here on Tuesday mornings, and who knows, might stress that out till 3:30. Right.
Billy in Glasgow says, Mike Graham, how come every time you ask the other Mike a question, he body swerves the answer with some ridiculous other answer?
No, I don't at all. I just try to justify my inability to answer it because the question's been gerrymandered. And one here from James, this just about sums it all up. At the two mics, stitch up, absolute stitch up. Keep your chin up, Porky. Mike Parry 8. And that just about sums it up for me. Just about sums it up, pal, honestly.
Right. Well, we can try again next week and see if you get any better results with a different quiz. Why don't you nominate a quiz subject for us, and then that way you might feel a little bit less aggrieved.
Well, I know so much about so many things.
I know, as we've proven every week.
I'm spoiled for choice as to...
Should we just do another general knowledge one then?
Do another general knowledge, that's fine. That's fine by me.
General knowledge will be
OK,
next
that's fine.
week's
I've got
quiz.
a very, very broad general knowledge, believe me.
All right. Now, here's an interesting story, and I thought you might have a view on this.
Right.
Fur coats are apparently coming back into fashion. And I'm talking about real fur, not fake fur. Because, of course, fake fur has been very much in fashion for a long time because fur coats were very much seen as... beyond the pale.
Yeah. Well, I know quite a bit about this because, I'm I
can't give you a quiz on fur coats.
No, of course you can't. But I know a bit about these things. You see, for instance, if the first Mrs. Parry ever does emerge, OK, and,
Well, where's she hiding?
Well, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. What I'm saying is that I would buy her a fur coat.
Would you?
Without a shadow of a doubt. And
I don't think you could really wear a fur coat around this country.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. You could, because years ago, all these, what are they called? Supermodels or whatever they're called. What were they called? Supermodels, are they?
They were called supermodels.
People like Naomi Campbell and all that. They all posed naked and said, this is better than wearing...
I'd rather go naked than wear fur.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's right.
I remember that campaign.
Well, they've all changed their minds now because, of course, fur coats are beautiful, aren't they? We know from living in America, any woman worth her salt in America has a fur coat, doesn't she?
Well, except, interestingly enough, I mean, certainly you see more of them there because people don't seem to have so much of a problem walking around them. But I think it was in Vail, Colorado, the kind of the Superstars skiing resort.
Yes.
I think they banned them there, didn't they?
Well, I don't know whether they did or not. They certainly didn't ban them in Manhattan.
No.
Every girl I went out with in New York, round about October, November, would trot off down to some furriers and get their fur coat out of the fridge. Because they kept them in a fridge over the summer.
Fridge, that's right.
They did, yeah. And, like Anne-Marie Finn and Jane and all that lot, Doreen, they all had fur coats.
They did.
Yeah, and...
they were very expensive, though.
Yeah, and they wore them without...
but I thought you were the friend of the animals. I mean, you're supposed to be saving Tommy the chimp. You talk about the Duck Conservancy and all that.
I am.
Well, how can you be a friend of the animals if you're in favour of fur coats?
Well, because... And all these models have gone back. I'm not saying individually they've all gone back to wearing them, but I believe that some of the supermodels now have gone back to wearing them because they've had a look at what happens when you wear a non-fur coat. When you wear a non-fur coat, what you're actually doing...
A non-fur? You mean a fake fur?
Fake fur. You are, in fact, destroying the planet.
How come?
Well, because, as you well know, a lot of these fake furs are made of synthetic fibres.
Yeah.
Synthetic fibres, generally speaking, come from petrol or coal or tar or something like that. They ruin and destroy the environment.
So what, the manufacturing of fake fur is what's the problem?
Not just the manufacturing of fake fur, but if you wear a real fur coat, and believe me, you know this, it's the skin of an animal, right?
It is.
Well, we use animals to provide meat and pork and,
pork
chicken.
and meat.
Yeah, and chicken, like beef and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? We use animals... for millions of other things,
Well, nobody has a problem with leather, do they?
No, exactly. Nobody has a problem with leather. You're absolutely right. So what is, if an animal's dead and you can use its coat, what's wrong with that? I just don't get it.
Because that's not really how it happens, is it? I mean, the problem that most people have is with things like mink farms, because what they're doing is simply breeding these animals and then gassing them in order to take their fur off them.
But if some guy...
it's not like people are walking around, with a fur made out of a cow.
Yeah, if some guy who happens to be an Eskimo, what are they called these days?
Inuits,
that's right. You're not allowed to call them Eskimos anymore,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, OK, well, an Inuit then, a member of the Inuit tribe or whatever, yeah. So if he's paddling around inside the...
in his kayak.
in his kayak in the Arctic Circle.
You're not stereotyping anybody.
No. But they do paddle around in canoes and that kind of stuff. And then he lands and he goes in the forest and shoots a couple of bears. If he then skins them and takes their furs back to the trading post, he gets paid for it. Well, that's part of the natural...
Back to the trading post.
Sorry?
Back to the trading post.
Well, that's what they do, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you. If you don't know, then just listen. You'll learn something, won't you?
Okay.
That is part of nature's natural cycle.
Is it?
Of course it is.
Well, that's hardly high fashion, is it?
Hey?
That's not high fashion, though, is it? That's not.
What do you mean?
Well, the difference being that people if you were making it into a fashion statement, people would be going around shooting bears just for their fur and making them into coats and mass marketing them.
No, bears get shot all the time. Like, and you know, foxes get... Not foxes, like wolves. What else
Wolves?
is fur made out of? No, what is it? What is it?
Yeah, there's a load of wolves roaming around in Surrey.
No, of course
Best
they're not.
to shoot
Sorry.
them because they get nasty.
No, it's...
I saw a programme the other night, actually, about how dogs...
Again.
How wolves have actually been proven to be one of the most interesting species that have evolved basically into dogs, because what they've realised is that being wolves, they were going to be killed by predators because they were considered dangerous. And what they've actually done is their species is... I can tell you're not paying any attention to this.
I am.
Their species has now kind of evolved into the domestic dog because they know they can survive better.
Right, listen to this. I
told you you're not listening.
Yeah, I was listening, but I've just looked this up. Celebrities such as Gwyneth Paltrow, both the Middleton sisters, that's presumably the Duchess
Pippa
of Cambridge.
and Kate.
Yeah, Beyonce, Cara Delevingne, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley have worn furs in recent years, OK? Now, the reason
I can't imagine Kate Middleton would be seen wearing a fur.
Well, the reason is, if you can't get rid of a fake fur coat. Because it's made of those synthetic substances, you cannot get rid of it.
Right.
So it's like, what's the other thing that takes like 1,000 years to disappear? A plastic bag.
Well,
right?
why would you want to get rid of it anyway? It lasts a long time, doesn't it?
Well, because eventually you throw it away, don't you? But you can't get rid of it. With a real fur, they are biodegradable because then they're made of,
who throws a fur coat away? There's worth about 25 grand.
Well, eventually you have to get a new fur coat and dispose of the old one. It's got flea bitten or something, you know. And
moths.
But yeah, that's right. But with the fake fur coats, you can't get rid of them. They just do not degenerate. They're not biodegradable. They cause a massive problem. They block up incinerators and all sorts of things.
How many of these things are out there?
And in fact, to make them, you are using a massive amount of the world's resources, which could otherwise be used to feed the poor.
Right. So that's your plan, then, is it?
No, I'm saying that's why fur coats are back in vogue.
Right.
They are back in vogue, and they're acceptably back in vogue.
Would you wear one?
Because the half-bakes who said in the first place that it's cruel and against the rules of, humanity are mad. It's part of nature's natural cycle that if an animal is born with an attractive fur coat...
You can skin it.
No, when that animal dies, why can't you use its fur? The animal might have died of old age, for all we know.
That's what happens in mink farms. They wait till they die of old age. 08717 22 3344. That's the animal-friendly Mike Parry saying fur coats are back. This is TalkSport.
Hey! Joe, where you going now? Running your head. I said, where you going back, gun in your head?
Gareth from South Wales actually asked for that. He texted a little while ago. Mr. Graham, any chance of adding a few of Porky's Hey Heys into some music over the next few hours? Hilarious when he did it 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he says, have a good day on Sunday. That was, of course, Jimi Hendrix as well.
Yeah, what was that called?
Hey Joe.
Hey Joe, that's right. Yeah, and then you put that stupid...
No, I didn't do that.
Hey, hey, that I only did the hey, hey because you asked me to do the hacker.
Yeah.
And now you mock it. And by the way... Somebody's put out a little sort of video on Twitter or something of their kids impersonating me.
Impersonating you, yes. Extraordinary.
It's
just have such an effect on the youngsters
completely out of control
of the country, don't you?
Out of control. Listen, have you ever come across a game which I'm being told is growing in popularity by the week called Foot Golf?
I have.
I